has up to a 27-foot capacity to handle any zinc plating requirement. Gatto's 210,000 square foot facility can process 300 tons per day and offers complete custom packaging with available pickup and delivery in the Chicago metro area by Gatto's own fleet of trucks. All of Gatto's products are inspected and certified to ensure that each customer is receiving the best and most cost-effective plating protection. Gatto is home to King Kong, the largest zinc plating line in North America that can zinc plate parts up to 27 feet long and weighing up to 8,000 pounds. For a quote and fast 24 to 48-hour service, call George Gatto Jr. or George Gatto Sr. at 1-800-290-1223. That's 1-800-290-1223. 1-800-290-1223.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter, has been with us all week. Charles?
Having a great time of it too, Dan.
Great to have you here. Good conversations all week. We got another one. Well, we're 2 for 2 this week, kind of, sort of, I would say, Charles. We had...
I would say so.
We properly called the case of the Maxwell Street, that the murder one charges against the mom and her son that couldn't hold, and they didn't. Charges dismissed by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Although that doesn't mean I'm endorsing the mom in that case as some sort of hero, nor does it mean I'm endorsing the civil suit they filed against the city.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I tell you, man, if it's there, go get it. I mean, how many hundreds of millions of dollars does the city pay out in the course of a few years on these suits? And they said, hey,
jackpot justice, right? Take a spin. And this is why the city has to defend these suits with vigor to disincentivize this sort of frivolity. So yesterday, very interesting, these things happened concurrently. Jordan Williams, the young man who stabbed this ex-con that had come up to him and his girlfriend on the J train in Brooklyn, because the guy was getting fresh, to be polite, with his girlfriend, and then punched her, which is getting a lot more than fresh. So he defends himself, and his girlfriend stabs him. The guy dies, initially charged with manslaughter, but yesterday a grand jury declined to indict Jordan Williams, and so he walks.
But it's very interesting that it wasn't the prosecutors.
No, Eric Gonzalez, the Brooklyn DA, was not right.
It was the grand jury.
Right.
So
probably a lot of members of the grand jury who ride the J train in Brooklyn.
I bet. And people, and keep in mind, these are the people, not the state's attorney's office or whatever the equivalent is in New York City. But, yeah, I mean, it's a people. The people said, whoa, 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 whoa. And there's no way for us to know what the prosecutors presented to the grand jury. But, the old adage is, you can indict a ham sandwich. And they couldn't indict Jordan Williams.
Right. Probably as much a commentary on the particulars of the case as it is about the lawlessness in New York City at present, particularly on the subways. Although, again, I mentioned something else happened concurrent to this. Concurrent to this, in Manhattan, Daniel Penny was pleading not guilty to second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide charges after he was indicted by a Manhattan grand jury. And so I ask, two systems of justice? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
But I think it's a jury. There's going to be a jury trial, I would presume at this point. And the jury will look at the facts of Penny's case. And I think look, I want a guy like Daniel Penny on the train with my unaccompanied wife, daughter, or granddaughter. I want a guy like that on the train who can step in to protect them. And I think every father, grandfather wants that, and husband. They want that guy to step up, who is willing to step up. And I'm not gonna send that guy to jail,
right,
as a juror.
And
No
so,
way.
and you say, well, so in both cases, you had the respective district attorneys, Bragg in Manhattan, Gonzalez in Brooklyn, charge in the case. So you can say, on the one hand, well, look, there's not two systems of justice. Both individuals were charged, and the people, the grand jury convened in Brooklyn, decided that the charges couldn't be sustained against Jordan Williams, and the people of Manhattan, in their infinite wisdom, decided the charges could be sustained against Daniel Penny. But there's also just the issue of whether charges were appropriate in either one of these cases, and I don't think they were. But, it's just so in the one hand, you say this black and white thing, it's a white Marine and it's a black homeless guy, it's a black young man, it's a black assailant. Does that have any, setting aside the district attorneys for a second, does that have any impact on grand juries to reach different conclusions, given how race obsessed we are as a culture and how that is being pushed by the left, the identitarianism, which certainly includes racial identitarianism?
And I think that's got to be part of it, because it has so consumed the culture at this point that you certainly can't discount it from our point of view from the outside. Certainly not. But I think that, I don't know, man, I just get the sense that perhaps there is pushback. There's a lot of pushback.
Well, in Brooklyn there is,
and maybe
not in Manhattan,
but maybe here in Chicago after we saw the video, and
on Maxwell Street,
yeah, maybe that's pushback too. That people saw that video and they said, "Whoa, wait a minute! This guy assaulted this kid's mother." I mean, what would you do? That's a question. What would you do? Put yourself in the same situation. What would you do? And I think that common sense has got to take over. We have to, is it DeSantis? I think I saw him campaigning. He had a sign behind him that said "In the insanity" or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. A return.
Updating Susan Powder's "Stop the Insanity," weight loss.
Yeah. Whatever. But I think
person.
there's an insanity that has consumed America on several fronts, not only criminal justice, but culturally and politically. There's this insanity that just has to be ended. And this is a good sign.
Let me ask you about this insanity. I mean, the Brooklyn situation is a good sign. The people of Brooklyn, not the prosecutor.
Right.
Because Jordan Williams should not have been charged. But let me ask you if this is part of the insanity. The individual who was killed in the Willowbrook shootout the other weekend, Reginald Meadows. The Chicago Tribune, they've had a press conference because the family is suing the owner of the strip mall where people illegally gathered and where the DuPage County Sheriff's Office watched them illegally gather and, to our knowledge, didn't do anything to disperse the crowd that was illegally gathered. And, of course, DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrick isn't talking to anybody, so we don't have any answers as to why that was, what went down that night, why it went down that way. James Mendrick, DuPage County Sheriff. But is this part of the insanity? This coverage, the Chicago Press Corps, the Chicago Tribune, Ashley Miller called it her new normal. It's a future in which Reginald Meadows, the father of her two children, her junior high sweetheart, and the man she planned to marry is gone. And the talk about her trying to pick up the pieces, very tearful, sitting next to their hired gun that's suing this strip mall owner. Reginald Meadows, Hinsdale Central grad.
Mm-hmm.
Hinsdale Central grad.
Suburban guy.
Is identified in at least 45 police citations and charges.
Really?
Yeah.
For what? What's the range of what are the kinds of things?
They range from traffic citations, which not a big deal. I've had more than my share. But arrested, for example, by Downers Grove Police on 2 counts of battery in 2009. Arrested in 2010 by Villa Park Police, possession of firearm without a FOID card, UUW charge as well. Cited by Downers Grove Police in 2012 for driving on a suspended license. Arrested again by Hinsdale Police for stealing $600 in gift cards from employee mailboxes and a cell phone while visiting Adventist Hinsdale Hospital on Christmas Day. 2013, cited by Elwood Police and Woodford Police separately for driving on a suspended license still. Driving on a suspended license with open alcohol again. Served 8 years in state prison in for his Downers Grove burglary at the Vienna Correctional Center in Southern Illinois. Arrested by Lyle Police again in 2020, driving on a suspended license. A police report in Villa Park on Meadows went to a Walmart on Route 83 in Villa Park intending to rob a man who had asked him to buy him marijuana. He pulled a gun on him, and so on and so forth. These are sort of the nature. But, I mean, it sort of piles up, and there are some incidents of violence, and there is an 8-year prison stint in a prison in Southern Illinois because of crimes committed in the western suburbs. And yet none of that is included in any of the coverage of Reginald Meadows by the D.C. Press Corps. I mean, by the Chicago Press Corps, which is just an extension of the D.C. Press Corps. And is that part of the insanity?
That is part of the insanity. I mean, we've lost. I mean, the media's. We're no longer. No, there's no credibility there. But I had no idea that guy had been involved in all of that. And his girlfriend, you say, was it?
Yeah, I guess girlfriend,
who is suing,
fiance, right?
Suing
and brother, the family.
Loss of companionship, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, the family's coming together on this. The thing here, because the response when we talked about it in the show previously mentioned this, and then I posted these details, including his rap sheet. Oh, so he deserved to die? Is that what you're saying? No, I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous. That's the hysterical left trying to cover their insanity. Of course he didn't deserve to die. Nobody wants anybody to be shot or killed. Nobody wants anybody to play judge, jury, and executioner on the street. Of course not. But that doesn't give you cover to present a false image of anyone.
Exactly.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue, right?
But that happens all the time. I mean, it happens all the time, and it reveals the bias in the reporting. They're trying to tell a story in the way they want the story told, as opposed to telling it factually and giving every dimension of it.
It's all race based. I mean, this is race based. They're not reporting on Reginald Meadows' criminal history because he's black.
You think that?
Yeah.
You think that?
I do. Do you?
I don't know. I mean, I just think they think they have a good story with the family, and they're pandering to the family to get the story. And I don't think they understand the full range of what they're doing. I could say that about reporters all over the place. I mean, we had the situation earlier this week with the Nancy Rotering story,
yeah,
and how she was presented,
yeah,
in such a way, and there was no counter to what she was saying about.
When she called anybody who opposed her views on gun bans craven.
Yeah, and we let it go. I mean, when I say we, I'm talking about the
ABC.
media. I still think I work at Channel 7.
Yeah.
But we let it go. We let her say that. There was a time when you couldn't make that kind of charge without a response. I mean, even if you call the Illinois Rifle Association and throw up a shingle or a graphic, and what's their statement, or even report they didn't want to comment. Anything. But we don't get that anymore. And in this case, this guy is shot and killed. We should say who he is. And that is a huge part of who this person is.
Yeah, because it's like, why was he there that night? He's a doting father of two. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. Well, good. So then, why was he a part of an illegal gathering at 12:30 at night on a Sunday night, on a Sunday morning, I should say?
And they're suing the owner of the mall,
right?
But not the sheriff's.
They're suing the owner of the property upon which they trespassed. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll let that sink in. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn over to the Bret Baier interview of IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley yesterday. Very illuminating. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, thank you. 72 degrees, hazy skies. We've had strong thunderstorms crossing the area this morning, but only parts of the area. Right now, a strong storm tracking out into Lake Michigan. Doppler radar tracking penny-size and quarter-sized hail through Glenview all the way into the lake, and has dropped some rain on parts of the north and northwest, parts of Chicago, Evanston, Skokie, Des Plaines, Glenview, Wheeling, Park Ridge, places like that. The Blackhawks took a major step forward in their rebuilding effort during the first round of the NHL draft yesterday. This crowd at the Salt Shed was so excited you couldn't even hear the pick.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western
Connor Bedard taking first overall in the NHL Draft and says he didn't talk much before the draft because he didn't want to jinx the Blackhawks.
No, I didn't want to jinx myself or anything, so I was kind of playing it cool, I guess, just doing normal day-to-day stuff. And, obviously now I think then you can start looking into stuff.
Just a few minutes later, with the number 19 pick overall, they nabbed one of the best skaters the Blackhawks did in the draft, selecting Oliver Moore. Thousands of passengers are stranded at U.S. airports this week. Bad weather and staffing problems the blame.
But aside from the bad weather, the airports were seeing impacts from reduced staffing, as has been mentioned, at critical air route traffic control centers. So going into the summer, the FAA didn't know that this could be an issue.
Flights came to a halt Wednesday in Boston and New York City. Unionized UPS drivers are warning of an imminent strike that could start as soon as next week. Teamsters demanding the delivery company produce its last, best, and final offer to the union by Friday. President Biden laying out how his policies to grow the economy from the middle out and bottom up are working.
This vision is a fundamental break. Theory that has failed America's middle class for decades now. It's called trickle-down economics.
Biden in Chicago claiming his administration has prioritized investments in infrastructure. Domingo Germán threw the 24th perfect game in Major League history Wednesday as the Yankees blanked Oakland 11-0. Germán needed 99 pitches to record the first perfect game since King Felix Hernandez back in 2012. Chicago Board of Education President Miguel Del Valle is stepping down. Del Valle announcing at yesterday's school board meeting that it will be his last. His seat on the board expires tomorrow. And an Indiana State trooper has died after being struck by a suspect's car during a stolen vehicle pursuit on the west side of Indianapolis.
A trooper attempted to deploy stop sticks to help terminate the pursuit. During that time, he was struck.
The suspect vehicle then crashed after striking the trooper. White Sox 11-5 winners over the Angels, while the Cubs surrender 5 in the top of the second in an 8-5 loss to the Phillies, while the Bulls reward their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, with a 3-year contract extension. The news service of MyPillow, big news, brand new MyPillow 2.0, buy one, get one free with promo code LIBERTY. A 60-day money-back guarantee at MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Are you looking for a place to worship and grow your faith in the Chicago area? Are you looking to serve alongside other believers? Quentin Road Baptist Church can help. We're located in Lake Zurich, Illinois, and our doors are open to all. We welcome you to join us on Sunday mornings at 11 for a time of fellowship and worship. At Quentin Road Baptist Church, you'll find a community of believers who are dedicated to seeking, studying, and sharing the Word of God. Our pastor, Jim Scudder Jr., delivers powerful and inspiring messages that will encourage you in your spiritual journey. The music is uplifting, the people are friendly, and God is at work. So come join us this Sunday at Quentin Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois. For more information, go to ingraceradio.com or call us at 800-78-GRACE. Again, that's 11 a.m. at the Quentin Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois. That's ingraceradio.com or call us at 800-78-GRACE.
This is Sean Thompson, and I'm proud to tell you about the great work of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, a new partner of ours here at AM 560. Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. When a first responder or military service member doesn't come home and young children are left behind, Tunnel to Towers pays the mortgage on the family home to lift the financial burden and bring stability. For catastrophically injured veterans and first responders, Tunnel to Towers builds mortgage-free smart homes, giving our most severely injured heroes the ability to live more independent lives. You can help America's heroes and their families by supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation when you make a small donation of just $11 a month. Go to T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. T2T.org.
Are you a business owner with a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth, but you just need the right bank? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that Signature Bank is all about going the distance for commercial banking customers. It's what Signature Bank does every day. Their team understands that accessibility is key to their culture. In times like these, you want a bank that is there for you to weather the bad times and capitalize on the good. And with Signature Bank by your side, you can't go wrong. It's a true partnership. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right, I'm a customer. I believe in what they have to offer, from innovative tech and customized solutions to help your business grow and thrive. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's 5:40 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's get a quick update on the roads. We'll start on the inbound Edens. Stop-and-go traffic, Cicero to Montrose, 22 in from Lake Cook Road. Bad accident on the inbound Kennedy, inbound between Montrose and Belmont, and a climbing travel time of 45 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. Southbound DuSable Lakeshore Drive between Randolph and McFetridge closed down this morning until 4 in the afternoon on Wednesday, July 4th for that stock car race. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Times of sun and cloud in your forecast. We've had strong thunderstorms move through the area. Hot and humid again for the afternoon, high 87. We have haze and 72 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter, in for Amy this morning. Charles, IRS whistleblower, the one that has disclosed his identity, Gary Shapley, sat down for an interview last night on Special Report with our friend Bret Baier. Now, the other IRS whistleblower, just to get your score sheets out here, remember who plays what role and so forth. So Shapley's a supervisor. He supervises 12 agents. The other whistleblower, who has not been named, going by Mr. X per his attorney, is a case agent, and he was the case agent on the Hunter Biden case.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the direct case agent, and Shapley is the supervisory agent. Those are the two whistleblowers. He recalled in his interview with Bret Baier the red line meeting he had with U.S. Attorney for Delaware, David Weiss. Red line meeting October 7th of last year.
So I was there and I witnessed this personally. And he started with, he's not the deciding person on whether or not charges are filed or not.
Not the deciding person on whether charges are filed with Hunter Biden.
That's correct.
Who was?
So ultimately, this, if you follow the path of where the venue leads you, they went to the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office in March of 2022, and they presented this case to them. At the same time as that was occurring, they requested discovery from the agents, which is a typical step when they're getting ready to charge. Now, I wasn't in those meetings. I asked to be in those meetings, as did the case agent, so we didn't help present to them. But after that occurred, he was no longer looking to charge in that district.
So that's earth-shattering news. It's a Biden-appointed D.C. U.S. Attorney, Matthew Graves, would not allow him to charge in his district.
So I didn't learn that fact until October 7th of 2022, so looking back to March of 2022. And that's when David Weiss, in October 7th, 2022, said that the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office will not allow us to charge there. And then he added that he would request he requested special counsel authority and was denied. In that meeting, I even had him repeat that because I knew how important that fact was, and I wanted to make sure I understood it.
So he wasn't the decider, despite what Merrick Garland said on Friday. And he did, after he was denied by the U.S. Attorney in D.C. to bring the case there to charge Hunter Biden, denied. Then he asked, according to Shapley, did David Weiss, asked Merrick Garland or the Deputy Attorney General for special counsel designation so he could bring the charges in the District of Columbia himself, for example, and was denied. Remember what Merrick Garland said on Friday in response to this specific question.
It was not the only person with authority to make somebody a special counsel or refuse to make somebody a special counsel as the Attorney General. Mr. Weiss never made that request to me.
Do you think, just to follow on that, do you think that a special counsel, can you explain the rationale for not appointing a special counsel in this case?
Mr. Weiss had, in fact, more authority than a special counsel would have. He had and has complete authority, as I said, to bring a case anywhere he wants in his discretion.
So both of those things are disputed on point by Gary Shapley. And here's the thing. Just a he said, Dan. Not exactly. Not exactly, because as Shapley recounted, he documented the details of these meetings in real time.
Not only do I remember it crystal clear, but I documented it. The email, this is an exhibit in the House Ways and Means Committee testimony, was when I returned home that evening, I documented it in an email, and it's an exhibit. You can look right on there. And I sent that email to two senior executives, one of which was at that meeting, and I said, is this accurate reflection of what occurred during the meeting? And the response was, you covered it all. So there are other things in that email to include that he needed to go to California, and he had gone to California to request a charge there. And then he even opines that if they decline to allow charges, that he would have to request special counsel authority from the Deputy Attorney General or Attorney General.
So he essentially has confirmation, written confirmation in real time from David Weiss.
You know, now that this scandal now has faces, has names and faces to it. And, you know, I can remember, you know, I was actually a working reporter during Watergate years in the early 70s.
Just how old are you,
I'm
Charles
old,
Thomas?
man.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, you know, there wasn't this kind of stuff out there back in those days. The stuff that eventually would bring down Richard Nixon, there wasn't this kind of stuff. Now, I'm noticing the mainstream media paying more attention over the past week and a half or so. The question is, will they sustain it? But as far as having the material, the stuff to work with, they've got it. They've got it, and you got faces and names and people who are willing to speak. And
yeah,
what are reporters doing? What's the media going to do with this? Are they going to carry it through to where the big guy is certainly in jeopardy?
Well, here's what they did yesterday. Before he jetted off to Chicago, the big guy was accosted on the South Lawn by reporters, and he was asked about the WhatsApp message. Were you sitting next to young Hunter, your baby boy, struggling with addiction, when he sent that threatening, perhaps extortionary WhatsApp message to the Chinese Communist-connected businessman?
Mr. Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved?
No, I wasn't. And I don't.
Were you?
No.
No.
Oh,
Yelled
man,
at that old man.
You don't mess with Joe, man.
Yeah,
because
oh yeah.
You remember what happened to Corn Pop?
He's the big guy. That's right.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, don't make me corn pop your ass. That's right. So there's a denial. Okay. Well, here we go again. The Washington Free Beacon had reported that timestamp photos from Hunter's laptop place him, Hunter, at his father's Wilmington, Delaware residence the day the WhatsApp message was sent. So, I mean, could Hunter have been there and the big guy not have been there? Sure, possible. Does this demand more questioning, more investigations? It sure does. That's what Gary Shapley wanted to do, Gary Shapley and his colleagues at IRS. And he was blocked at every turn, as he explained.
When we received the attorney-client filter-reviewed copy of information from the search warrant to Apple, which produced that document, we went back to the prosecutors and we requested to take various investigative steps, and they were not supported. And when they weren't supported, they said, well, maybe he wasn't co-located with him. So, well, we can take investigative steps to
Confirm
see
that.
if that happened,
Right.
and they didn't support anything in relation to that effort. And it's consistent with their ongoing theme of not allowing us to pursue or ask questions about President Biden, the big guy.
So,
and it wasn't just with respect to the WhatsApp message. It was also with respect to search warrants that would customarily be green-lighted in cases like this, to obtain documents, in this case, with respect to the Hunter Biden investigation, documents from a storage locker. So it wasn't like they were green-lighting a SEAL Team 6 raid on his residence. And those search warrants were not green-lighted in this instance.
When prosecutors don't allow you to put the subject's name on document requests or on search warrants, then it raises the possibility that there's more information out there we didn't find. But based on all of the financial records that we did find, they've been analyzed. It was around $8.3 million he received.
From who?
They came from China, from CEFC, came from Ukraine, and from Romania. And even the Burisma money, and it's kind of a aspect that we didn't get into, but the 2014 and 2015 tax years when the Burisma money was coming in. I mean, to this day, there's still around $400,000 of unreported income from Burisma in 2014. Hunter Biden was told by his partner Eric Schwerin that he needed to amend his returns, and he never did. So D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office declining those charges, David Weiss requesting special counsel authority and being denied, and then the statute of limitations then expires in November or December of 2022. So those years are gone, and there's no way to recoup the money from that Burisma income.
Right, so they slow walk the Burisma piece of it to get him off on those matters, and as they've both testified, both whistleblowers testified before, what we had here, and they documented it again at the time, real time. So this is not after the fact they're coming up with a story. They have proof to detail and support what they're saying about what they were thinking and trying to do and what wasn't getting done at the time it was happening.
Well, I think people can understand everything that these guys are saying, but it's going to take the Republicans, if they want to make hay out of this, they're going to have to begin a media campaign to do that. And instead, all I've really seen so far are a lot of Trump ads beating up on Ron DeSantis.
Well,
when in fact,
yeah,
some of this stuff should be used to beat up on the Biden administration, the Biden crime family, as it's being called.
Well, Trump, did mention at the Faith and Freedom Coalition, he went on a riff and a rant about Biden being a wholly owned subsidiary of the Chinese Communists, per some of this. So it will come, and House Republicans are making more hay of this. Now they're demanding documents from the Department of Treasury related to Hunter Biden's time at Burisma. But for those of you who were confused about why the more times Trump gets indicted, particularly by the feds, the more his support grows, this is why. This is why. If that indictment was happening in a vacuum, it would be a different conversation. But it's not happening in a vacuum. It's happening with the Department of Justice and an FBI that behaves the way it's behaved for the past 7 years and continues to. Is it starting to resonate a little bit for those who are confused? Dean, and let's go to the phones real quick. Dean in Sarasota, Florida, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, guys, a couple questions. Now, when President Biden said that Hunter's the smartest guy he knows, all of this is kind of sinking in right now. Why else would he say that? What basis would he have to say Hunter's the smartest guy I know, if not for all this stuff coming out? What do you guys think about that?
Thanks for the call, Dean. I think it's just just sort of the puffery that I love my son. He's the doting father. This is the sort of cant you get from Biden that then is used by the Nick Kristofs at the New York Times and the Anna Navarro's on The View to say, hey, the real story here is a loving dad trying to help his son wrestle with his addictions. That's the story. And so, look, he loves his. I love my boy. My boy is the smartest person I know. Good boy. Good Hunter. And I just think it's all of a kind that this is just a father-son relationship. He had nothing to do with the business. He's just a supportive father, a concerned father, and all this other stuff you're trying to put on Joe Biden, the demons that Hunter wrestles with that makes him do bad things. That's what I think.
I don't know. I get people knee-jerk defend Joe Biden because they hate Donald Trump.
Right.
That's why they knee-jerk defend this guy. And I think anybody can see what's going on, that these people are crooks. It's out there right in front of your face. But if you say they're crooks, you open the door for Donald Trump. And they just absolutely will not do that. Trump triggers them in such a way
I get it.
that they will take these crooks they will support these crooks and not criticize or carry through with the criticism of these crooks because they hate Donald Trump that much.
It's Edwin Edwards running against David Duke for governor of Louisiana, where Edwin, remember the famous bumper sticker? I mentioned the story before on the show because it's just so perfect. It's Edwin Edwards' bumper sticker. His campaign put out, "Vote for the crook, it's important."
Yeah.
Right? I'm a crook, but I'm not the Grand Wizard.
Yeah.
And they've convinced themselves that Trump, I mean, it's absurd, but they've convinced themselves that Trump is Stalin, Hitler, David Duke, and so we'll go with the crook. We'll go with the crime family.
I don't think it's them. I think.
And by the way, if Trump doesn't make it as the nominee, then it will be convincing themselves that DeSantis,
that's going to be difficult.
Is baby Trump.
That's going to be difficult. I think at that point, if you provide people with an off-ramp, particularly, I mean, even Democrats, if you provide them with an off-ramp from this Biden crime family business, I think they'll support a candidate like a DeSantis or really any number of other Republican candidates if you give them an off-ramp from Trump, because they're so invested emotionally in Donald Trump. Now, I don't want Donald Trump to go away completely. I think he can be a martyr, because I want those people who are fervent about Donald Trump to be just as fervent for another candidate.
Smart. This is the piece that too many people forget, is you got to have those people stay, and that's going to be no easy feat.
You think you don't think it'll? Well, it won't
I mean,
be easy. But
you're right. I'm saying I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be an easy feat, depending on how this plays out. If Trump is not the nominee, I just want to make one other mention here, because we haven't talked a lot about Romania, but Romania goes to a pattern of conduct. You heard from Shapley. The money was from Burisma, Ukraine oligarch, was from China. We know that well. Romania. This is back in the final year of the Obama-Biden administration. Noted corporate attorney Hunter Biden was flown over to Romania to meet with a Romanian real estate tycoon who was accused of orchestrating a corrupt land deal, a guy named Gabriel Popaviliu. I'm pronouncing that right, but whatever. His work there for this Romanian businessman went unreported, like his work everywhere else. Also, Joe Biden at the time was the leading voices pushing the government to crack down on corruption. So enter Hunter Biden to represent this corrupt Romanian businessman. So do you see a pattern of conduct here? The prosecutor in Ukraine that gets sidelined by Biden, the point man for Ukraine for Obama. The move in Romania to crack down on corruption that gets sidelined when Biden is the point man for Obama for Romania. Hunter's there. Coming up at 6:06, we'll turn our attention to the parents' revolt led by immigrants in Montgomery County, Maryland. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Thunderstorms crossing the area. Full weather forecast coming up. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
It's back. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Canadian wildfire smoke making the sky hazy in much of America with unhealthy to very unhealthy air quality readings.
Today and tomorrow, air quality alerts up for millions of folks from Green Bay down towards St. Louis and Louisville, Washington, D.C., even Atlanta, Georgia, and Birmingham, Alabama, seeing and feeling and smelling that smoke.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean, the Coast Guard says human remains have been found deep in the ocean as it salvages the submersible that imploded a week and a half ago on the way down to tour the Titanic shipwreck, killing all 5 people on board. Hunter Biden will face questions today in a deposition in the lawsuit computer repair shop owner John Paul Mac Isaac filed, claiming the president's son damaged his reputation when Biden claimed the laptop left at his shop was not his.
Mac Isaac reported the contents of the infamous laptop to the FBI when he uncovered damning photos along with messages that raised suspicions of influence peddling involving allegedly Joe Biden.
That's Fox's Brooke Sigmund. Now, the president denies any involvement in his son's business dealings as House Republicans investigate. And as President Biden runs for re-election, he has a big lead in the Democratic race. He's at 64% in the new Fox News poll. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at 17, 1 in 10 prefer Marianne Williamson. Also in the Fox News poll of 1,000-plus voters,
over half say former President Trump's handling of classified documents put national security at risk. But after pleading not guilty to federal charges, the former president remains the top GOP candidate in the 2024 race to the White House, with 56% of GOP primary voters saying they'll support him.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin, a New York Yankee, pitches his way into the record books.
Domingo Germán has thrown the 24th perfect game in baseball history.
The call on yes. Germán wears the number 0, blanked the A's in Oakland. No runs, no hits, no walks, and an 11-0 Yankee win. America's listening to Fox News.
Hazy conditions, unhealthy air in some spots. 72 at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Strong thunderstorms are impacting areas to the south of us right now. Southern LaSalle County, southwestern Kankakee County, Ford County, Iroquois County, and a thunderstorm watch and warning is in effect through 6:45 a.m. The Blackhawks take a major step forward in their rebuilding effort during the first round of the NHL draft. All you needed to hear at the Salt Shed last night was Regina Pats, and the crowd went wild, and the Hawks shocked no one by taking Connor Bedard with the first overall pick. Bedard later saying he can't wait to experience Chicago.
Experience that, especially with such a storied organization, and everything I've heard about the city, the people there is nothing but positive. So can't wait for that, and very thankful that all the staff, Kyle and Luke, everyone put their faith in me with that pick.
And he's not the first Bedard to play for the Blackhawks. His great uncle James played for the Blackhawks in 1949. Chicago Board of Education President Miguel Del Valle is stepping down. Del Valle announcing at yesterday's school board meeting that it will be his last. His seat on the board expires tomorrow as the board shifts from an appointed body to an elected body next year. April Perry is set to make history as Chicago's top federal prosecutor. President Joe Biden announcing that he's nominating Perry as the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. If confirmed, she would be the district's first woman in that position. She currently serves as a senior counsel at GE Healthcare. We told you yesterday that Aurora was throwing its hat in the ring as one of the suburbs who want the Chicago Bears to relocate there. Yesterday, the city's mayor had this reaction.
They treat them fairly, when it comes to the tax assessment here in the city. We're not just looking at Chicago Bears like deep pockets and dollar signs like some other communities may. We're looking at it as a partner that we can grow together here in the city of Aurora.
Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin saying he's sent a letter to Bears GM Kevin Warren saying, come and visit. White Sox 11-5 winners over the Angels in Anaheim. Cubs lost to Philly 8-5, and the Bulls have signed their center Nikola Vucevic to a 3-year contract extension. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum has lost trust.
I do not have confidence that this particular indictment, none of them, to be honest, are done in good faith. I don't have the confidence that they are not attempting to use political leverage to attack an opponent.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
When a service member or first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty, who's there for them or the families left behind? Who's helping our homeless veterans and our nation to never forget 9/11? The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. More than 95 cents of every dollar donated to Tunnel to Towers goes to its programs. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Our doctor thinks it's wonderful. Well, we got more energy. We feel like doing more. Yeah, we're 83 and 84 years old. And we're talking about buying a pontoon boat. What's that tell you? We may say, hey, come out and film us.
I had my checkup, and I told the doctor, and he said, and I showed him what I was taking. He said, well, I have to look into Balance of Nature. He said, that's great. So he may be referring orders to you, too.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Cracked brickwork or caulking? Doors or windows that no longer open or shut properly? Permaseal can help with that. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. When you look around your house, do you see uneven floors, gaps under baseboards, basement walls leaning or bowing, new cracks in your drywall or ceiling, or sunken concrete next to your foundation? These can be signs of structural foundation issues that won't get better with time. Call Permaseal today at 800-421-SEAL. Too often we hear of homeowners paying for an expensive consultation just to determine the problem. Don't be one of them. We can evaluate your foundation and offer you a permanent solution at absolutely no charge. Since 1979, Permaseal has been committed to providing quality proven products and superior customer service. When the work is done, you'll have a transferable warranty along with priceless peace of mind. And now, through June, you'll save $300 off any structural repair. Call Permaseal 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
It is 6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr. Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560 The Answer. Inbound Kennedy, and right now we're seeing 50 minutes from O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange, all due to an accident with two right lanes blocked inbound between Montrose and Belmont. Dan Ryan already stacking up in the middle, 51st up to the Chinatown feeder, and it is 19 minutes in, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and sun, a strong thunderstorm. That could bring us some damaging wind, flash flooding, and hail today, high 87. Shower and thunderstorm around this evening, otherwise cloudy and humid. Air quality unhealthy for some, low 72. Thunderstorm tomorrow, high 89. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
73 at O'Hare, 68 along Chicago's lakefront, and right now 73 at Midway. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is former ABC 7 reporter, political reporter Charles Thomas.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Asra Nomani, she's a former reporter, Wall Street Journal. She was a reporter, a colleague of Daniel Pearl's. She actually did a lot of work after his murder. You remember Daniel Pearl murdered by Islamo-fascist terrorists in Pakistan. She did a lot of work on the investigation after that terrible occurrence. She's also been an academic, and now she is a outspoken advocate for parents' rights and against the identitarian indoctrination of kids at the K through 12 level. So she was out in Montgomery County, Maryland, which, again, if you're not aware, is one of the more leftist counties and school districts in the country. You know, put it up there with your Fairfax, Loudoun County, Virginia, Evanston Township, District 65, yeah, sort of that. I mean, they were like full-throated COVIDians and all the rest. CRT, the LGBTQ2S+++, mutilating children, dudes in women's sports, the whole thing. They run the gamut. But there are apparently some parents in that school district not on board. And it's interesting to note who those parents are. This is something that will not be amplified by the Beltway press corps, even though Montgomery County, Maryland is basically in the Beltway. Certainly has a lot of Beltway denizens that reside there. Who are these parents revolting against the imposition of sexualized curriculum on kids in primary grades, for example? Well, Azra Nomani was there to document it.
Guys, so here we are at the corner of Campus Drive and Manatee Street. And this is where intersectionalism came to die. This is where the woke army, this unholy alliance between the Muslims and the far left, came to die. What I have behind me is hundreds of Arab Muslims, Ethiopian Christians, Peruvian Catholics, and so many others. Let's go see them.
We love our children. We love our children. We will never surrender our children.
These parents here are asking only for the right to be conscientious objectors to a government policy that forces them to choose between obeying God and obeying the state. And it's very ironic, and it's very beautiful, in fact, that it takes immigrants. It takes immigrants to this beautiful country who came here because they understood what it stood for, and they understood what was beautiful about it, and they are here to teach a lesson to these folks who have never even met most of these people here.
How about that? Arab Muslims, Ethiopian Christians, Peruvian Catholics. That's who's going to rescue us from ourselves in America. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636 DA, turnkey.pro text line.
You know, same thing's happening in Hamtramck, Michigan.
Right.
They banned any display of a pride flag. And this, of course, a great many Muslim Americans, now they are the majority in Hamtramck, but they have actually banned the LGBTQ plus pride flag
and other flags. It's not they're not targeting that specifically. They're just not going to be forced down a road to make an exception to the flag policy for the pride flag.
Yeah, I mean, you see you see this bubbling up around the country. You see it bubbling up in a lot of, and you know, when you talk about Montgomery County, Maryland, I mean, like you say, that's a one of these lefty hamlets or whatever it is. And,
yeah.
You know, but you know, but a lot of people who feel that way don't say anything because they don't want to be canceled.
Well, I know those are the rich honkies. I know who they are. That's my point. It's going to be, and those are a lot of rich honkies in places like River Forest and Naperville and Hinsdale and the North Shore that also really don't believe in God anymore. They may call themselves a Christian. They may say, I believe in God. But they're not people of faith. But the people in Montgomery County are people of faith. And they take it seriously. And you heard that message just now. It's very interesting that the school cannot force you to choose between God and the curriculum. In other words, the school should be aligned with the values of the community as represented by parents and families in the community. What an interesting notion. So that's not present in rich white enclaves, generally speaking. But it is present in some of these immigrant communities where there's significant immigrant population of people who are of faith, Christian, Muslim, other, Catholic, other. And I mean, so it's a serious question, and it's actually a serious belief. It's analogous to my belief that the conservative movement's future is going to be led by black conservatives if it is going to survive and thrive.
Well, black conservatives, I think black people, whether they realize it or not, when they snap to it, they'll understand they have more in common with the conservative movement than certainly they do with all of these LGBTQ and radical this and that, and
I have
this. They got to understand that.
And I have more in common with an Ethiopian Christian or a Peruvian Catholic or a Arab Muslim that was part of this rally in Montgomery County than I do with most of the suburbs here, most of the honky-dominated suburbs here.
But do these suburbs,
isn't that interesting?
But do these suburbs really know what they're doing? Do they really? Are they really Marxists? I mean, I know some of them who are, got tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars at their disposal.
Yeah.
And they are out here, supporting a Trotskyite view of America. And you wonder, like, where are you coming from with this? You wouldn't be able to do what you do without, a free market economy. And here you are.
The scholarship, Charles Murray's formulation that these people are not preaching what they practice. It's sort of it's a combination of white guilt, borrow from Shelby Steele, and sort of a neo-white man's burden. Right. I mean, it's the conversation we had about Joy Reid yesterday. Well, of course, Joy Reid, Joy Reid who went to Harvard, makes millions at MSNBC. Well, that's me. I'm Joy Reid. I'm special. Other people, not special. That's why they need me to represent them. They need to confer their agency onto me so that I can speak for them and do for them because they cannot speak or do for themselves. That's the attitude. Well, it's the same attitude in the suburbs, these wealthy suburbs. It's white man's burden.
It's white man's
combined
burden.
with white guilt.
Well,
that's what I think. But the larger point is, who is going to, lead us out of Babylon? And this is why, by the way, I'm so pro-immigration. I have been for a long time. I'm not for no border, willy-nilly, because that's insane. But for legal immigration, expedited. Shouldn't take as long to get in. Shouldn't take as long to become a citizen once you've proved up. If you want your speed pass, then waive all access to welfare state benefits, and we'll get you in faster. That's what I would be doing. Those Peruvian Catholics and Ethiopian Christians and Arab Muslims in Montgomery County, Maryland. Do you want more of them in this country or less? Or do you want more of them in this country vis-a-vis the Chardonnay Antifa in Hinsdale, or less?
Well, they're getting people coming over the border, man. They're the majority Catholic coming into the country through Texas right now, and certainly over the years. And you know what? I guess the church, if the church was true to its creed, then and these people are. I mean, Mexico, I think, is the largest Catholic country in the world.
Yeah.
Right now, and.
But I mean, I'm not talking about some sort of religious test to get in the country, or even ideological
the values that they bring with them.
No, right. But Catholics are there's a lot of mess there, and there's a lot of social justice Catholics. They're sort of liberation theologists. Just updated their rap that are no better. I mean, and that populate some of these suburbs too, and are destroying churches and Catholic schools from within, including Loyola Academy, the Jesuits. I mean, let's talk about the Jesuits. Why don't we? My alma mater, Bennett Academy, which has lost the Benedictines. I mean, so it's complicated, which is why there's religious tests. I'm not even on board with Trump's sort of like ideological tests. You know how I know? because I see what you do. So you do things lawfully, and you have a background that can be quickly reviewed, and you prove up by, in sort of a probationary period by working and doing and abiding, and you're in. How about that? And if you don't do those things, you're out. And, if you're obviously not an American citizen, you're out permanently. Permanently. What a concept. It seems so simple, but yet it's so complicated. Mike in Tinley Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Charles just hit it right on the head just a few minutes ago. Why can't we have a discussion with these people, the people that become successful off the capitalistic system, but yet they're preaching Marxism and all the social justice stuff that's going to destroy. Eventually, they're going to come and take their wealth, whoever the dictators take over this country, if God forbid they succeed. But why aren't we having this discussion with these people to rationalize with them, what are you doing? The end goal is, what's your end game?
Actually, look, we have the discussion all the time, to the extent that they'll engage. I mean, some people, look, right. What is the constituency of the Democrat Socialists? Wealthy people insulated from terrible public policy, and the beneficiaries of terrible public policy through transfer payments that are part of this permanent dependency class, and nothing in between. Except some buffaloed suburbanites who are afraid to, go against whatever they think is au courant. So we talk about them and say what? They go to do you think Fourth Presbyterian downtown is any different than, say, the Community Church of Edina, Minnesota, the Lutheran Community Church of Edina, Minnesota? Are you ready for this? The Lutheran Community Church of Edina, Minnesota, which I understand is Senator Amy Klobuchar's church. Have you heard of the Sparkle Creed? Maybe you've heard of the Nicene Creed. The Sparkle Creed is relatively new. It was drafted by some journalist about 2 years ago, and now it's in the Lutheran Community Church in Edina, Minnesota.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and let us confess our faith today in the words of the Sparkle Creed. I believe in the non-binary God, whose pronouns are plural. I believe in Jesus Christ, their child, who wore a fabulous tunic and had 2 dads, and saw everyone as a sibling child of God. I believe in the rainbow spirit, who shatters our image of one white light and refracts it into a rainbow of gorgeous diversity. I believe in the Church of Everyday Saints, as numerous, creative, and resilient as patches on the Ace quilt, whose feet are grounded in mud, and whose eyes gaze at the stars in wonder. I believe in the calling to each of us that love is love is love. So, beloved, let us love. I believe, glorious God, help my unbelief. Amen.
Ooh, the most frightening thing about that clip are the voices in the background. There's actually people paying attention.
Yeah, and you know who populates the pews at the Lutheran Community Church in Edina, Minnesota, where the household income is about $110,000, median household income? Old honkies. So tell me again. You understand that these people, by the way, and tell me this isn't a religion. I mean, tell me this is not a religion. So that's what you're dealing with. First, you have to understand what you're dealing with. And when it comes to, why don't we have this conversation with these wealthy people who practice capitalism and preach Marxism? Because they're the same. They're materialists.
And not only that, if you go to any alleged Marxist society or socialist society, a country, you're going to find that small group of elites who are going to have everything they want. They're going to live in the biggest houses. They're going to have the most of everything within those alleged Marxist societies. Or they are Marxist societies, but they have an elite class.
I'm a free market guy, so just let's be clear on this. Not that I think my record is fairly clear, but you understand they're not capitalists; they're materialists. That's Marxism. This is what people don't get. You're wealthy. How can you be a Marxist? Because you're a materialist. You're not a free marketeer. You're a materialist. You're not God-fearing. You're a materialist. This is why Marx, Lenin, we will sell them the rope we used to hang them. They got it.
Well, they got it. They have the material wealth, but you have no chance to ever have it. The masses have no chance to ever have it. That's the difference. There's no opportunity for you in those systems.
Well, you don't need it because you have the Vanguard. I mean, this is the Vanguard class version of Marxism. The Vanguard class. We will provide for you, the proletariat will revolt, but you need a Vanguard class to, turn all the dials and pull all the levers. And the only people that seem to understand, not the only people, but the people that seem to have the greatest understanding of America these days, the idea of America, the promise of America, as enshrined in the founding documents.
I know where you're going here.
We're protesting at the outside of the school in Montgomery County, Maryland yesterday.
Absolutely. That's right.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, causing tingling, pain, balance issues, and drugs haven't helped? There's now a treatment that's already helped thousands improve their neuropathy naturally.
I've been under the care of Dr. Fisher for a little bit, 3 months now, and I have noticed a marked improvement in my neuropathy. My sleep has been a marked improvement since like the second week. Because my pain in my foot was just throbbing, it would not give me a break, and it would take me too long to get to sleep. Please give Dr. Fisher a try because he's the real deal.
Gold Coast Chiropractic has a cutting-edge solution with a 95% success rate. They address the underlying cause of neuropathy without taking endless drugs with serious side effects. Call today for a complimentary nerve screening in the Gold Coast or Wheaton to see if this treatment can get you your life back. Call 773-524-4164. 773-524-4164.
Sign up today for an unforgettable experience in Israel this October. Dennis Prager and I are traveling back to the Holy Land on the Stand With Israel tour with our trusted partner, Inspiration Cruises and Tours. Visit standwithisraeltour.com and sign up today. This trip of a lifetime to Israel is one you won't want to miss. Register today before it's too late. Go to standwithisraeltour.com, standwithisraeltour.com, or call 855-565-5519. That's 855-565-5519.
Tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman.
Plan ahead for the dangerous situation so that they don't affect you and you can weather the storm and just sail right over it.
Call Steve for your own free consultation today at 833-945-7283, 833-945-7283, and be sure to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer.
If you are a first-time home buyer, which means you have not owned a home within the past 3 years, then you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. I have very, very, very valuable news for all first-time home buyers. Due to the rapid increase in interest rates last year, many first-time home buyers couldn't afford to purchase a home. And Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac want to turn those numbers around and help first-time home buyers qualify with lower interest rates. If you earn less than or equal to $105,700 and have not owned a home during the past 3 years, Fannie and Freddie are incentivizing you to purchase a home with lower rates. No, I'm not making this up. To see if you qualify, give me a call now at 855-56-DAVID or visit our website, 56david.com. That number, once again, is 855-563-2843 or visit our website, 56david.com. Lower.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, Bidenomics in one lesson. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
73 degrees, hazy skies. Strong thunderstorms still impacting parts of the state, the northern part, LaSalle, Kankakee, Central Ford, Iroquois counties. The Blackhawks take a major step forward in their rebuild. Last night, selecting Connor Bedard with the first overall pick in the NHL draft.
Experience that, especially, with such a storied organization, and everything I've heard about the city, the people there is nothing but positive. So can't wait for that, and very thankful that all the staff, Kyle and Luke, everyone put their faith in me with that pick.
The Hawks shocked no one by taking Bedard, but just a few minutes later, with the number 19 pick overall, they nabbed one of the best skaters in the draft, Oliver Moore, who had slipped out of the top 10. Overseas this morning, a French police officer who shot and killed a 17-year-old driver will be investigated for voluntary homicide following 2 days of fires and violent protests that injured scores of officers. France will deploy 40,000 federal police to quell violence today that has injured scores of police and other security officials. Over 120 million Americans from the East Coast to the Midwest are under air quality alerts, all due to Canadian wildfire smoke.
I've never seen it like this smoky or anything, like even fog. I've never seen it be this bad.
Thousands of air passengers are being stranded by the weather at U.S. airports this week as well. Traveler Troy Lewis.
Well, it's been a bad experience so far. I have a newborn right here, and I have to be waiting 5 hours. So it's really a bad experience.
Staffing shortages are being blamed for hundreds of cancellations. We're watching the Supreme Court again today. Decisions are due on critical cases involving federal student loans and college admissions. Unionized UPS drivers are warning of an imminent strike that could start as soon as next week. Teamsters are demanding the company deliver its last best final offer by Friday. Federal judges in 2 states have temporarily blocked portions of transgender youth care bans, both in Kentucky and Tennessee. Courts blocked only parts, though, of the respective state laws that would have prevented so-called transgender minors from dangerous and controversial hormone therapies and puberty blockers. 16 are recovering from injuries after an Amtrak train partially derailed in Ventura County, California. It happened Wednesday morning. Chicago Board of Education President Miguel del Valle is stepping down. His departure comes as the board will be shifting from an appointed to an elected body. And the creator of the Chia Pet, a Chicago native, has died. Joseph Pedot was a University of Illinois grad who began his career in advertising and then came up with the concept for his famous product at a trade show in 1980. White Sox 11-5 winners over the Angels in Anaheim. Cubs lost to the Phillies 8-5. The Bulls inked their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, to a 3-year contract extension. The news, a service of ComparionInsurance.com. Like to shop local? Go to ComparionInsurance.com. Their agents are local insurance experts and can find you the right insurance at the right price. Comparion Insurance Agency, local agents, expert advice. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John this Saturday afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
At Ethos Life, we busted all the myths about getting life insurance. Like myth number 1.
Life insurance? I can't afford that.
At Ethos, we have term life policies everyone can afford, with policies as low as $7 a month. Or myth number 2.
I have a life insurance policy through work. That's good enough.
With workplace coverage usually only equal to a year's salary, that won't nearly be enough to cover your family's ongoing and future expenses. A long-term, affordable policy from Ethos can give you the peace of mind that if something happens to you, your family is well covered for years to come. Myth number 3.
Getting life insurance? It's just too complicated.
At Ethos, our 100% hassle-free online process can give you a quote in seconds, application in minutes, and coverage in hours. With no medical exams or blood work needed, just answer a few health questions. Get your free online estimate at ethoslife.com. That's ETHOS life.com. Rates will vary based on age, underwriting, face amount, and type of policy.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My brother was here with his wife, and I said, listen, take the rest of these 2 bottles. And my brother's like, well, and I said, no, there's nothing to think about. Just get it, order it, get it on auto ship. And in the first couple months, you may not thank me and go, I don't feel anything. But I said, but about that 3rd month, it starts kicking in. I mean, I'm singing, I'm doing dishes. I love it. Absolutely love, love, love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, we're Comparion Insurance Agency. Right now you're thinking, Comparion, never heard of them. We know. We also know that you have no idea that Comparion Insurance agents are local and provide expert advice. So to help it stick, we're going to say local agent 4 times in the next 15 seconds. Ready? Go. Our local agents know you and your community. Our local agents offer insurance from top carriers. Our local agents have minty fresh breath.
Find us at ComparionInsurance.com. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents, expert advice.
And there's number 4.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE, Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
6:39. Let's get a quick check on the roads. It is a service of MyPillow. Big news. Brand new MyPillow 2.0, machine washable, dryable, 60-day money-back guarantee. MyPillow.com, promo code Liberty. Kennedy inbound, about an hour right now from O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. We'll call it 57 minutes. An earlier stall being pulled out of your way near Addison. Eichen, 49, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson, 44 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan outbound has just been reopened around 31st. They had a right lane lockdown with earlier police activity, and things are returning to normal there, so your outbound commute down to 95th in about 15 minutes. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, a mess, and they've closed southbound on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, all lanes between Randolph and McFetridge for the upcoming weekend stock car race. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sun and clouds, thunderstorms tracking across the state this morning, high of 87. We've already seen some pictures of 1.5-inch size hail in central Illinois today. 73 right now. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas in for Amy today. Excited to see the big guy in town yesterday, Charles? Were you excited?
The big guy?
The big guy, yeah.
Well, the big guy was here yesterday, right?
Yeah.
They say he didn't quite have the decade straight. I mean, he called the we had a war in Iraq.
That was before he left. It's on the South Lawn telling the press corps that Putin was clearly losing the war in Iraq.
Oh, that was in Washington.
Yeah, well, okay. Biden's losing his tethering to reality. When he got to Chicago, assuming maybe took a little nap on Air Force One, he tried to start. He tried to explain Bidenomics. Got off to a bit of a slow start.
But under the trickle-down economic theory, 3/4 of U.S. industries grew more consecrated.
Crambone, Frogger went around it. She did.
I'm thinking I didn't go to mass.
I see what you did there. Nice cover.
They were moving to diminish competition.
Yeah.
Crambo, Frogger went a courtin', he did ride. Crambo, Frogger went a courtin', he did ride. A sword and a revolver by his side. Crambo killed flop do yellow bug too lot. That's the hard part right in there, nephew.
He has a better singing voice than I anticipated.
Lovable grandpa.
That was better.
Is that the thing they want to do now?
He also tried to do some Biden-splaining on infrastructure. Again, some fits and starts.
A guy driving a truck knocked down a whole bridge and the whole block, 4 lanes of the highway.
Uh-huh. And your point is what? Well, let's suggest that he has a point. Maybe he's talking about rebuilding roads and bridges. Maybe he's talking about EVs. Maybe he's talking about the combination of the two. Interesting, just as an aside, quickly. An analysis by the Telegraph across the pond found the average electric car in Britain more than doubles the wear on road surfaces as compared to its combustion engine-driven counterparts. So more potholes, more maintenance, because, they're heavier, more wear and tear on roads that are in many places in Britain, like many places in the United States, I don't know, Chicago, are particularly weary as it begins, from the start, particularly with the weather in the winter and so forth, right? Potholes that could swallow a bus, CTA bus in Chicago during the winter. Charles, you're familiar.
Yeah, you're talking about electric cars, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, it's one of those things where the point is to say, I only want to look at one aspect of a particular issue. I don't want to consider all the aspects. I don't want to operate in the real world where there are trade-offs. Oh, so an electric car will provide this benefit and that benefit. Well, it imposes some costs, too, with respect to batteries and the power that's needed to generate to build the batteries, the weight of the cars, which induces more wear and tear on road. So it's just looking at both sides of an equation rather than one side of an equation when we make public policy.
And you also have to think about how do you replace the gasoline taxes that are going to have to, you won't be able to collect that gasoline taxes, so how are they going to tax electric cars? And it opens the door to so many new taxes.
New user fees, track your mileage.
Yeah.
Put one of those handy dandy government transponders on your car to track your mileage. Pay. It's a
While
user fee, pay per use.
While tracking you.
Well, of course, but I mean the government is benevolent, so we don't have to worry about them tracking where we are, right?
Right.
Biden, when he finally had a fit of cogency, was able to get off this sort of top-line explanation of what he calls Bidenomics.
Bidenomics, we're turning this around. We're supporting targeted investments. We're strengthening America's economic security, our national security, our energy security, and our climate security.
Which security are you most impressed with? The enhancement of which security are you most impressed with? The climate, the national, the economic? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. It's funny because all those securities are being enhanced, and yet fewer than 4 in 10 Americans give him high marks for his handling of matters economic.
Well, this whole Bidenomics thing, that could really be a problem for him by next year. Particularly, people will begin to refer to their own situation as the result of Bidenomics, and people are having issues right now. You can look at any of the other indicators, and they suggest that rents are going up, price of food is going up, price of gasoline hasn't come down, really,
but wages have, and that's a problem.
And wages have, and people are going to say this is Bidenomics. They're going to have a name for the economic dysfunction in the country, and I think that was a horrible mistake on the part of his advisors. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, again, just a little summary of the data here, and this is Labor Department data, so it's hard for the administration to refute its own Labor Department's data. But, again, maybe the Biden constituency is big enough, or the combination of actual Biden supporters and Trump haters or GOP haters, to get him reelected. I don't know, but here are the numbers per Larry Kudlow.
In the last 5 quarters or 15 months, the U.S. economy has grown by a paltry, stagnant 1%. 1%, okay? That isn't even growth. It's really a growth recession. You want to compare that. Biden said yesterday he had the fastest growth in the world. By the way, Canada to the north of us is growing at 3%. The EU is stagnant at 1%. India is growing at 6.5%. China is growing at about 4.5%. So I don't know where he gets that. The other point is we went through it. Look at Biden never talks about inflation. Not just the year-on-year inflation rate, which has come down, as you know, from 9% plus to about 5%, but the actual level of prices since he became president is up 15.6%. And that has been devastating for households. Kitchen table prices have soared. So you've got, for example, in the bottom quintile, you've got wages falling 2.3% in real terms, okay? In the next quintile, these are all lower middle class, wages have dropped 3.9%, and overall, wages have fallen 2.1%. This is the problem with the Biden economy. There's no growth, and real wages have fallen because the level of prices have skyrocketed. Energy prices are up about 40%. Grocery prices are up about 20%. This is why it's going to be a kitchen table economy. It's going to be a pocketbook election, and Biden's numbers are just awful.
But I got to tell you, he did one thing that was smart.
And what's that?
The big guy yesterday. He came to a place that is very receptive to beautiful lies. He came to the right place to deliver his fairy tale about Bidenomics.
Yeah, Bidenomics is to cherry pick the statistics that suit your reelection campaign. That's Bidenomics summed up in a sentence.
Like taking credit for jobs created by private sector businesses who were unlocked and able to operate their businesses again. I take credit for that.
Yeah.
Supported the lockdown. I mean,
Right.
This is generally speaking with the COVIDians, but supported the lockdown, supported ending business and printing money to keep them afloat, as many as could be kept afloat for as long as they could be kept afloat. Then they come back into operation. They start to do their business again, and I take credit for what they generate in terms of economic activity and jobs created.
Yeah, and if you compare it to what existed before the pandemic, it's certainly not a recovery. It's not growth, as Mr. Kudlow pointed out.
Bill, LaSalle County, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call, gentlemen. One of the things that also I saw a story a couple weeks ago is these electric vehicles, not only are they heavier, but because they're heavier, they're wearing out their tires a lot quicker, and there's an environmental concern over the particles that are shed from tires, and the tire manufacturers are trying to come up with better formulations so that they're less toxic to the environment.
Interesting. Thanks for the call, Bill. Right after they figure out how many gallons of water you can use for each cycle of your washing machine or dishwasher, they'll get to the tire piece. The EPA regulators will be on that. Those mystics in federal bureaucracies that know all. Glenn in Oak Brook.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. The real wage decline for everyday Americans does not impact government employees because if you remember, Cook County got a 10% raise last year, and I believe the state of Illinois was either 12 or 17% raise.
Certainly for legislators. Well, but I mean, hey, Glenn, let's be fair. A la Babe Ruth vis-a-vis Harry Truman, they had a better year, right? So they deserve the bump.
Playing field's not equal. So.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. Well, there are betters, Charles. Obviously, you can't allow public sector employees to suffer the consequences of public sector decisions.
Lord,
that's for the private sector.
Oh, Lord, no.
What's the private sector for, then? Come on. The public sector has a certain lifestyle they've become accustomed to, and we're here to support that. Is that confusing?
But we certainly can't let them, fall behind.
No.
I mean, my goodness.
No. I mean, some people are nearing the age of retirement in the public sector, 50. And they want to enjoy their 7-figure pension, net present value.
Well, you got to get that because that affects the pension. I mean, if you've got to get that raise so that your pension which you're going to have for the rest of your life, breathing life, then you've got to make sure that's high enough.
I mean, come on.
Plus, you got that cost of living, that COLA.
You got to get the COLA bump, too, of course. Yeah, obviously. Well, and I mean, you really don't want your state legislators to get a double-digit bump so they can enjoy their golden years in compensation for their years of public service? Selfless public service at that. Right?
And they do it at a time when they have pension debt.
Pension debt? What's a couple $100 billion in unfunded liabilities between friends when you're talking about taking care of selfless public servants? I told you, this is the land of beautiful lies, which is why the big guy picked it. Chuck and Delavan.
I'm turning over a big box store, 137,000 square feet, to a company here in another couple of weeks up in Muskego. That'll be unnamed. And they were going to go and invest. They already got the property right across the road from the Broad Stop. I was supposed to leave here and then go over there. And I've been talking to all the underground guys that do all the sewer and water and everything. There's no work coming up. They got nothing on the books. This is a big outfit out of Minnesota that does all the underground work. And anybody I've been talking to, you got to get all that done first before you build anything. They think the economy's about ready to tank. This big company, they're out of California that owns all these stores, and they think the economy's going to tank. So,
a lot of people believe that.
Thanks for the call, Chuck.
A lot of people believe that, particularly when you think about the commercial real estate industry and the facts of the fact that a lot of real estate is being devalued right now, and for Joe Biden's campaign to give what could be a coming downturn, to talk about Bidenomics, they're going to get blamed for everything. I just don't see how this guy can even consider himself a candidate for re-election at this point. I mean, there are so many pitfalls in the way, on the horizon, that he's going to have to navigate. Man.
Dave, Racine, Wisconsin.
Yes, I happen to believe that the idea of people voting for their economy is a myth, because there would have been a landslide victory for the Republicans in the House and Senate had people been willing to do so. I mean, they're probably more interested in being able to kill, molest, and mutilate their children than they are in worrying about being able to feed themselves and their families.
Thanks for the call. It's complicated.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's Medi-Share. Maybe you've heard switching to Medi-Share to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month. And that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for Medi-Share is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medi-Share works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 888-SHARE-19. That's 888-SHARE-19. 888-SHARE-19.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My brother was here with his wife, and I said, listen, take the rest of these 2 bottles. And my brother's like, well, and I said, no, there's nothing to think about. Just get it, order it, get it on auto ship. And in the first couple months, you may not thank me and go, I don't feel anything. But I said, but about that 3rd month, it starts kicking in. I mean, I'm singing, I'm doing dishes. I love it. Absolutely love, love, love it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Given the revelations coming from IRS whistleblowers about DOJ and FBI corrupt obstruction of Biden family investigations, even the Democratic partisans of mainstream media will eventually have to cover this story. If true, the allegations demonstrate a pattern of corruption and perhaps worse within the Biden family. As a result, there's been an outcry for impeachment among part of the Republican faithful. But impeaching prematurely is a mistake. Most Americans aren't avid news consumers. They're only slowly becoming aware of the facts. Rushing them to a conclusion and to a decision about impeachment looks like a political stunt and payback for the treatment of President Trump. It's far better to allow the facts to emerge organically and to allow the American people to see for themselves. These allegations are serious. There's nothing to be gained and much to lose by politicizing them with a rush to judgment.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, Cully Stimson from the Heritage Foundation on rogue prosecutors. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Strong thunderstorms impacting the state of Illinois today, bringing some much-needed rain. Connor Bedard, the #1 pick overall, to the Blackhawks. WIND Chicago News Time, 7.
Hunter Biden has some explaining to do. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The president's son will be questioned today in a deposition over his infamous laptop. Computer repair shop owner John Paul Mac Isaac, who handed over to the FBI, sued Biden for damaging his reputation when Hunter Biden denied it was his laptop. Congressman James Comer just told Fox.
The media went all in on this is Russian disinformation for so long. There are still Democrats in Congress, if they only get their news from MSNBC, they really still don't know that the laptop is Hunter Biden's.
Comer chairs the House Oversight Committee and is investigating the laptop contents and Hunter Biden's business dealings. As an IRS whistleblower, Gary Shapley tells Fox there was interference in the IRS Hunter Biden tax investigation.
We weren't allowed to ask questions about Dad. We weren't allowed to ask about the big guy.
President Biden denies any involvement in Hunter's businesses, and as he runs for re-election, gets 64% support among Democrats, as we also find out
59% of voters in a Fox News poll say they have confidence in the FBI, down from 80% in 2017. Less than a third voicing trust in the federal government, a 20-year low.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin also in that poll. 56% of Republicans support former President Trump, despite his classified documents indictment. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a distant second, 34 points back. Everyone else in the race, single digits. The Coast Guard has found human remains in the salvage of the submersible that imploded deep in the ocean on the way to tour the Titanic shipwreck, killing all 5 people on board. We're learning more about the Chinese spy balloon the U.S. shot down after it crossed over America.
The Wall Street Journal reports U.S. officials say an investigation of debris of the Chinese spy balloon shows it was crammed full of American-made technology.
Fox's Carmen Roberts. The balloon did take photos and videos, but the data apparently was not sent to China. Canadian wildfire smoke keeps spreading further south. There are unhealthy air quality alerts from Wisconsin to New York, Alabama, to North Carolina. America's listening to Fox News.
Another hazy day, 73 degrees, and strong thunderstorms have crossed our area and much of the state, bringing much-needed rain, but some big hail as well. 7:02 is our time. A man was stabbed to death in the Irving Park neighborhood late last night, according to Chicago police. It happened in the 3700 block of North Kedzie. The victim had multiple stab wounds to the back and was transported to Illinois Masonic in critical condition, later pronounced dead. The Blackhawks took a major step forward in their rebuilding effort during the first round of the NHL draft. Hawks shocked no one by taking Connor Bedard with the first overall pick.
No, I didn't want to jinx myself or anything, so I was kind of, playing it cool, I guess, just doing normal day-to-day stuff. And, obviously now I think then you can start looking into stuff.
Bedard saying he didn't talk much about the Blackhawks before the draft. Just a few minutes after he was selected, the Hawks selected number 19 overall and nabbed one of the best skaters in the world and in the NHL draft, Oliver Moore. Chicago Board of Education President Miguel Del Valle is stepping down. Del Valle announcing at yesterday's board meeting it would be his last. His departure comes as the Board of Ed will be shifting from an appointed body to an elected body. Indiana State Trooper has died after being hit by a suspect's car during a stolen vehicle pursuit on the west side of Indianapolis.
A trooper attempted to deploy stop sticks to help terminate the pursuit. During that time, he was struck
and thrown into the air, according to the Indiana State Police, and later died. April Perry set to make history as the top federal prosecutor for the Northern District of Illinois. President Biden announcing yesterday morning he is nominating Perry. If confirmed, she would be the district's first woman in that position. Chicago sports. White Sox 11-5 winners over the Angels. Cubs lost to the Phillies 8-5, and the Bulls reward their starting center with a 3-year contract extension, signing Nikola Vucevic overnight. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news. Brand new MyPillow 2.0. Now buy one, get one free with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The feeble fascist and the entire upper echelon of the Democrat Party is a big, giant, pay-to-play scheme mafia. They get to lie with impunity, and they lie knowingly. And what does the lie lead to? The fact that the sitting president, although he doesn't know it and he's sitting in his own urine, the sitting president is an asset of enemies, foreign. We know. And we also know about the domestic, but we're used to unions.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Are you considering a unique way to enhance your investment knowledge this year? Then sign up today for the all-inclusive Eagle Financial Publications Cruise. Along with our trusted partner, The Money Show, we're setting sail this December to explore some of the most beautiful and unspoiled destinations in the Caribbean. But this is no ordinary vacation. It's a chance to learn from top Eagle financial experts like best-selling authors George Gilder, Mark Skousen, and others who will be hosting a series of workshops and seminars throughout the trip. Imagine lounging on the sun deck while discussing investment strategies with like-minded individuals, or enjoying a gourmet dinner at the same table with one of our leading financial authorities. This once-in-a-lifetime cruise is a perfect way to combine education and relaxation to achieve your investment goals. This cruise will sell out quickly, so visit EagleFinancialCruise.com today to learn more and to secure your cabin. That's EagleFinancialCruise.com. Eagle Financial is a division of Salem Media Group.
When a service member or first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty, who's there for them or the families left behind? Who's helping our homeless veterans and our nation to never forget 9/11? The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. More than 95 cents of every dollar donated to Tunnel to Towers goes to its programs. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I got to where I was sleeping in and I didn't like that. Within 2 or 3 days, I could tell the difference. Now I'm back to getting up early. I had more energy. I slept better at night. And in my therapy, I'm improving because I've got more energy. I truly believe in these things. I just know how I feel, and I tell everybody I can.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08, time to visit signaturebank.bank and time to check the roads this morning. In our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, the Kennedy is about 65 minutes now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Accident on the inbound Ike, left lane blocked. It's inbound between 25th and Western Avenue. Stevenson bottled up on the inbound side between Harlem and the Dan Ryan Expressway. Bishop Ford, stop and go. Cottage Grove into the Ryan merge. Tri-State northbound, got a jam spot between the Stevenson and 31st. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, strong thunderstorm could bring us some damaging wind, flash flooding and hail, high 87. Shower and thunderstorm this evening, otherwise cloudy and humid tonight, low 72. Thunderstorm in the area tomorrow, the high 89. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
73 at O'Hare, 66 Lakefront, 73 Midway, and your next news update is 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy is former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
Enjoying every minute of it.
We're enjoying every minute of having you, and we've been discussing this in part this morning. Of course, the interview that Bret Baier did with IRS whistleblower, supervisory agent Gary Shapley, also one of two whistleblowers. The actual case agent on the Hunter Biden case has not been identified, called Mr. X by his attorney, is the other whistleblower. Here is sort of a summary of what Shapley had to say in terms of the dollars and cents we're talking about that was associated with Hunter Biden scheming to avoid paying, what's the phrase, his fair share?
When prosecutors don't allow you to put the subject's name on document requests or on search warrants, then it raises the possibility that there's more information out there we didn't find. But based on all of the financial records that we did find, they've been analyzed. It was around $8.3 million he received. From who? They came from China, from CEFC, came from Ukraine, and from Romania. And even the Burisma money, and it's kind of a aspect that we didn't get into, but the 2014 and 2015 tax years when the Burisma money was coming in. I mean, to this day, there's still around $400,000 of unreported income from Burisma in 2014. Hunter Biden was told by his partner Eric Schwerin that he needed to amend his returns, and he never did. So D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office declining those charges, David Weiss requesting special counsel authority being denied, and then the statute of limitations then expires in November or December of 2022. So those years are gone, and there's no way to recoup the money from that Burisma income.
The story Gary Shapley tells is one of prosecutors, maybe with the exception of David Weiss, the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, that were uncurious, that declined to investigate things that could have been investigated, like the WhatsApp message where Hunter Biden alleges the big guy, his old man, is sitting next to him. Search warrants would be pushed off by prosecutors that would normally be executed, like a storage facility in Virginia, which potentially contained documents that would have been of interest in the case. That's what Shapley was referring to. And charges that wanted to be brought were denied in D.C., in California. A request for special prosecutor status that Merrick Garland denies was made, Gary Shapley says was made, and he documented in real time. David Weiss seemed to confirm it in an email exchange between the two. So one of the questions is, and I was very skeptical of the prospect of this when the plea agreement was announced. But could we have enough here now that brings enough pressure to bear on the judge in the Hunter Biden case to reject the plea agreement between the federal government and Hunter Biden? Prosecutorial misconduct? For more on this, pleased to be joined by Cully Stimson. He is Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. His new book, Rogue Prosecutors, How Radical Soros Lawyers Are Destroying America's Communities. Gee, I think we know something about that in Chicago. Cully Stimson, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, you had the first, and you have the first rogue prosecutor, Kim Foxx, who was elected in 2016. How's that turning out?
And 2020, let's not forget, we reelected her because we're big fans. We'll get to her and to that, but what about the prospect? It would be so unusual, but do you think there's enough here for a judge to take into consideration where a determination would be made that, no, I will not accept this plea agreement, and really throw this thing wide open?
So the judge really has three options, and I'm ashamed of my old office, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, for rejecting this offer to investigate the facts, which is apparently what we're supposed to do as a prosecutor. She can, one, just go forward with the plea and go forward with the recommendations and sentence him to no time and give him probation. She could sentence him to the statutory maximum or anything within the statute of those charges he pleads guilty to, or she could hold the plea in abeyance and basically continue it and say, you know what, there's a lot going on here, and I'm not going to set this plea deal for this day, and we're going to put it off for a number of months. And they can't really appeal that. So she has three options. I would choose the third and let the thing play out for a while.
But then if she held it in abeyance, which I agree with, but because charging him under the statute for misdemeanors that should have been felonies, that doesn't do much. But if she holds it in abeyance, I mean, she can't compel prosecutors to bring felony charges. So then what happens? It just becomes something that's held in purgatory, and it generates more attention that maybe puts more pressure on prosecutors to do the job they should have done. Is that your theory?
Well, if the statute of limitations has run on the 2014 and 2015 conduct, and it looks like it has, and that was the whole point of delaying and playing stall ball that these people in the Justice Department did. If further facts come out that verify the things that Shapley and Mr. X say happened, then remember, a judge can sentence you not only to the conduct that you're pleading guilty to, but other conduct related to it. And so she would be on very solid ground when the plea does take place to reject the U.S. Attorney's, the AUSA's recommendation for no time, and just sentence him to the upper limit in the statute. And by the way, if you read the statute, which John Malcolm and I wrote about at the Daily Signal, if the conduct of not paying taxes was knowing, under that statute, that exposes you to much more time. Now, I'd have to research whether or not she could sentence him to above the misdemeanor count. I don't think she can.
Right.
But she could put him in prison.
Right, and then maybe you put him in prison with the misdemeanor charges, and you issue some sort of public rebuke of the prosecutors that generates more attention that way. I mean, the problem here, of course, is you have prosecutors and a Department of Justice that seems to be in the tank for Hunter Biden. So there's only so much a judge could do. But
right.
Yeah, it sounds like that would be something that could generate more heat on this issue and on that Department of Justice than they're currently feeling. Although they've got to start feeling some of it, because Gary Shapley directly refuted what Merrick Garland said about how things went down, and he's got real-time documentation of it. So unless Merrick Garland has some direct response to what Shapley is alleging, beyond a blanket denial, it would seem to me it might be judicious for Kevin McCarthy to make good on his word to move articles of impeachment on Garland.
So I think that somebody has some splaining to do here. And Shapley has done a lot of splaining.
Very specific.
Under oath, in an affidavit. He's also gone on various networks, not just Fox, including a long interview in CBS. So I would not want to be Merrick Garland under oath at my next posture hearing, because he has not done some splaining. In fact, he's been very specific in a very short exchange under oath, saying Weiss had full plenary authority to bring whatever charges he wanted, wherever he wanted. So somebody's lying. And it's either Shapley and Mr. X or Garland, and I think it's probably the latter.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was asleep at the switch, and people beneath him killed these investigations, and they have some splaining to do.
I do want to get to the Rogue Prosecutor's book, talking about the Kim Foxes and the Alvin Braggs and the Larry Krasners of the world. We could go on, but it's just about every major city. But specifically in New York now, because we had this these concurrent events yesterday, a grand jury in Brooklyn declining to bring charges, declining to sustain charges, I should say, against Jordan Williams, the young man who stabbed a man to death on the subway defending himself and his girlfriend. Meanwhile, over in Manhattan, Alvin Bragg's jurisdiction, the Daniel Penny, the Marine who is charged with manslaughter in the other subway case, was at his arraignment pleading not guilty after the grand jury in Manhattan did sustain manslaughter charges against him. And what does it say about both prosecutors? Because they both brought charges, Eric Gonzalez in Brooklyn and Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. What about those cases in particular now, where you're moving beyond just the leniency of criminals, and now you're prosecuting people who are put in positions they didn't want to be in, and they act reasonably, I would argue, in defense of themselves and others?
Well, there's one common thing between those two prosecutors, and they're both paid for and bought and paid for by George Soros. And they have a very different mentality than real prosecutors. Each case stands on its own. But Mr. Penny, as you said, former Marine who should not have been placed in that situation, because when you refuse to prosecute entire categories of crime like Bragg has, you water down felonies to misdemeanors, the criminal element is going to run amok, like this young man who clearly was mentally ill had been. And had the criminal justice system worked as it should have under a real prosecutor, that young man would have been in prison, getting the help he clearly needed, and Penny wouldn't have had to defend himself and others who this guy was threatening to kill. And so, prosecution, and I've done prosecution and defense and judge, should be an apolitical exercise in prudence and judgment. And this is not what's happening in these two cases, in my opinion. And it's not what's happening with these 70-plus Soros rogue prosecutors around the country.
We had a case too. The thing that's difficult about this sometimes is, sometimes the victims aren't terribly sympathetic either. But this is why you have to have an even application of the law here, not take into account the politics of it. But we had a case that Charles and I have been discussing this week. Woman is accosted in a restaurant on the south side of Chicago. A guy is beating her, like closed fist beating her in the head. And she texts her son, 14-year-old son, get my gun out of the car, come in, something's happening. And he sees what's happening to his mom, and he shoots the guy. And the guy runs out, and they chase him, and he shoots at him a couple of times more. It's unclear whether he hit him again or not, but he hit him in the back the first time inside the restaurant. So they were both initially charged with first-degree murder, which didn't make any sense to us because if the kid should never have been put in that position, frankly, by either party. But he sees his mom in danger of serious bodily harm or death, and he acts to defend her. I don't know how you charge him with first-degree murder, especially he's a minor at the direction of his mom, and then she goads him to chase, and then she goads him some more. His mom is not exactly a heroic figure in this story, but it's still interesting. It's this whole idea of we will not prosecute criminals. We oppose allowing you to defend yourself. They're opposed to right to carry, even though that's the law of the land now.
Right.
So it's imposed on them. But we will prosecute you if you try to defend yourself in the environment that we've created. That seems to be sort of the governing ethos that we see playing out all over big cities in America.
Yeah, it's a sick catch-22, isn't it? Because, as you said, if this guy was beating the snot out of this lady, regardless of what her past is, he's committing serious crimes, including aggravated assault. And this poor boy who was put in a real Hobson's choice obviously did what his mommy told him to do. And, it's a sad situation. I can tell you, having prosecuted homicides at the state and federal level in D.C. at the U.S. Attorney's Office, most of the victims you see and the witnesses in these cases come with not a clean rap sheet. They have been involved in the criminal justice system. But everyone deserves their public safety privilege, period. And that's the problem with these rogue prosecutors. They see criminals as the victims. They see the police as the enemy, and they ignore real victims. So it's an upside-down view, and they view the world through race-colored glasses. So if you think Daniel Penny was black, you change that fact, do you think he would have been charged if the decedent was white? Nope. We know the answer to that, and that's the sad part about this movement.
How do we stop the rogue prosecutors? How do we stop the Soros money from basically polluting the process?
So our second chapter is on the money. the follow the money chapter. He spent $40 million in direct spending on these DA races and $1 billion in indirect spending. And from what we can tell, it's all legal spending. And remember, Soros himself took to the pages of the Wall Street Journal last year and talked about how he supports financially rogue prosecutors. So the way, I'd love to find a legal way to stop the spending. Looks like it's legal. The real way to do it is prepare, assume that if you're one of these 2,300 elected DAs that they're going to run against you, have the victims tell their stories, and then if you're a voter, look for their telltale, feel-good, fuzzy blather sayings like reimagine prosecution and over-incarceration and carceral state. If they're saying that thing and there's a safety and justice PAC in your state and they're getting the money from there, they're Soros rogue prosecutors. And if you vote for them, your city is going to be a dystopian hellhole like parts of Chicago are.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. The electorate is responsible party here and elsewhere in the country. There's no question. Before we let you go, I did want to get your opinion on the importance of the Moore v. U.S. case pending before the Supreme Court. This is the sort of taxation without income case. A couple in Washington State hit by a surprise tax bill because they were passive investors in a company in India, their friend owned, and they never realized any income. So they were taxed on unrealized gains. Why is this important? One, it's taxation without income, which would seem to be without representation. It's Tea Party stuff. Number two, you have proponents on the left who have previously called for taxing unrealized capital gains in this country. So it has a direct nexus with public policy proposals from the left here.
Well, first off, kudos to Andrew Grossman at Baker Hostetler for bringing the case. He was a former Heritage legal fellow in the Mies Center. Look, there's this pesky thing called the 16th Amendment, and it allows the government to tax income. I know that's a pesky word with a specific definition, but if this turns out the wrong way, and I hope to God it doesn't, every single person with a pension, every single person with a 401k, every single person who's invested in the stock market, and that's a lot of America, every single person who's owned a piece of property which has gone up in value, the government's going to get money from you, even though you haven't sold the stock, even though you haven't sold the land, and how does that work in reality? So your stock goes up the first year, and they tax you on what they think you earned, which you get nothing because you didn't sell it. The next year, the stock tanks. What, they give you a refund? This makes no sense at all. This is the wealth tax that the Democrats dream about. Why? Because they don't have the balls to get on the floor of the House and Senate and say, you know what, we just want to raise personal income taxes to X. Because we have a really progressive tax income scheme in our country. 50% of people don't even pay any income taxes, and the top 5% pay a very large percent when it comes to income taxes. And so this should fail. This should be a 9-0 decision based on the 16th Amendment and kill this wealth tax wet dream that Democrats have.
Cully Stimson, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. His new book, Rogue Prosecutors, How Radical Soros Lawyers Are Destroying America's Communities, like Kim Foxx in Cook County. Cully Stimson, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joins us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Summer is here, which is the ideal time to brighten things up around the house and let the sunshine in. Make the rooms in your house that appear small, dark, or dingy look better and bigger with larger windows or patio doors. Our highly skilled craftsmen can enlarge openings if your space allows. For decades, Woodland has been transforming living spaces with Marvin windows, featuring styles ranging from modern to traditional. Marvin replacement windows and doors can also bring your backyard right into your living space. Ask us about connecting the inside to the outside. When you welcome a Woodland sales expert into your home, you'll get a product expert, a design consultant, a budget hawk, and someone who has your best interest in mind. Our professional services, along with the best products and installation, are why we are proud of our great online reviews. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
You can shed that fat and be slimmer for this summer. No more wearing cover-ups or T-shirts in the pool. NJ Diet will help you the natural way. There are no shots, no hormones, and no surgery. You will lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days with NJ Diet. They use your hair, saliva, and blood work, along with bioenergetic scans, to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone so you can finally lose that weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. Best of all, it's contractually guaranteed. You're fully supervised the entire time to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water. And you even get Dr. T's personal email and phone number. Locations close by in Skokie and Oak Brook, or available from home with live online video consultations. Call 855-5NJ-DIET, 855-5NJ-DIET, or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, Bud Light CEO has come out of hiding. He did a sit-down with Oprah Winfrey's friends on that CBS morning show. We'll have his answers to the question, did you make a mistake with Dylan Mulvaney? That's 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
73 degrees, skies are hazy, and strong thunderstorms are impacting the state today. A man stabbed to death in the Irving Park neighborhood. It happened Wednesday night after 10 o'clock. Police responded to the 3700 block of North Kedzie and found that person unresponsive. Transported that person to Illinois Masonic in critical condition. He was later pronounced dead. The Blackhawks took a major step forward in their rebuilding effort during the first round of the NHL draft yesterday. The Blackhawks shocking no one by taking Connor Bedard, and he can't wait to get to Chicago.
An unbelievable feeling to be here with my family and friends and get to hear my name be called and experience that, especially with such a storied organization and everything I've heard about the city, the people there is nothing but positive.
Just a few minutes later, with number 19 overall in the first round, the Blackhawks nab one of the best skaters in the world, Oliver Moore, who slipped out of the top 10. French police officer who shot and killed a 17-year-old driver will be investigated for voluntary homicide following 2 days of fires and protests. France deploying 40,000 police and federal security officers overnight. Thousands of passengers stranded at U.S. airports this week, like traveler Troy Lewis.
Well, it's been a bad experience so far. I have a newborn right here, and I have to be waiting 5 hours. So it's really a bad experience.
Flights came to a halt in Boston and New York City yesterday. The California Reparations Task Force will release its final report today. The task force is recommending reparations be limited to descendants of enslaved or free black people who were in the U.S. by the end of the 1800s. A retired Cook County judge accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from a former Tuskegee airman is asking the state Supreme Court to disbar her. Patricia Martin made that request in a motion filed this week with the state's High Court. April Perry is set to make history as Chicago's top federal prosecutor. President Joe Biden announcing yesterday he's nominating Perry as U.S. Attorney for the Northern District. Her nomination is contingent on Senate approval. Olympic gold medal winning gymnast Simone Biles is returning to competition, and she will do so in the northwest suburbs. It'll happen in August at the U.S. Classic August 4 and 5, and that classic will take place at the Now Center, the old Sears Center Arena in Hoffman Estates. White Sox 11-5 rout of the Angels in Anaheim, while the Cubs lost to the Phillies at Wrigley 8-5. And the Blackhawks signed their center, Nikola Vucevic, to a 3-year contract extension. The news, a service of Cabino Oil Stain Remover. It's concentrated for superior results. Pour it on, let it dry, brush it away. It's really that simple. Get Cabino Oil Stain Remover at BDC Supply in Crest Hill or online at CabinoEnvironmental.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher explains Trump's surge.
Sunday morning shows yesterday, they're all in various levels of hysteria over Trump. They cannot figure out why he keeps surging in popularity. They don't even understand it. Newsflash, Americans are rejecting the politically motivated prosecution that he's undergoing.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's time to wake up, Illinois. This is Shannon Adcock with Awake Americans. On June 12th, we held an event titled Woke 101 is Marxism in America, and I'm proud to relay it was a smashing success. Attendees heard from 3 amazing national speakers, Noel Maring, Dr. James Lindsay, and She Van Fleet. It was a truly empowering event, and we can't wait to share the recording with all of you soon. Noel Maring spoke of the woke assault on children and how Christians must steel themselves into advocacy. She said, quote, hanging a new flag is a sign of a regime change, end quote. And she highlighted how the pride flags are being hoisted by various churches and government institutions. How timely that this month, the pride flag was hung for the first time at the White House during a pride event invitational. At this event, transgender activist Rose Montoya removed his top on the White House South Lawn, which resulted in him being banned. I tweeted, quote, the White House invited pride in, and it shook its naked, fake breasts on the lawn as the rainbow flag draped front and center. The People's House. Hashtag queer regime. The pride flag indeed hung front and center on the White House, with the American flags draped on equal plane to the left and the right, with people saying the White House may be in possible violation of federal flag code. Regime change? You decide. Dr. James Lindsay and She Van Fleet discussed at our event how Marxist history is indeed repeating itself, but also affirmed that the time is now to be unapologetic advocates right here where we live. So how will you declare independence from woke? The time to defend your values is here. You may have been asleep at the wheel before, but you're awake now, and we welcome you at the barricade with us. Visit www.awakeamericans.org for more on Woke 101 and to donate to our cause. For Awake Americans, I'm Shannon Adcock, and we cannot be canceled.
Want to remodel your kitchen or bathroom? There's only one name to remember: ForEverRemodeling.com. Not Core Ever Remodeling or Door Ever Remodeling or Explore Ever Remodeling. It's ForEverRemodeling.com. Need an addition or whole home remodeling? Don't call 1, 2, 3 Ever Remodeling. It's ForEver Remodeling. Want to finish your basement but don't know where to turn? It won't help to think of Store Ever or Snore Ever or Score Ever Remodeling. You want ForEver Remodeling. ForEver Remodeling is your go-to for the highest quality kitchen, bathroom, whole home remodeling, room additions, and basement finishing. So don't go to Decor Ever Remodeling or Implore Ever Remodeling or Dinosaur Ever Remodeling. When you're ready for your project to take off, go to 1098765 ForEverRemodeling.com. That's the number 4EverRemodeling.com. Or call us at 847-809-3355.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, inbound Kennedy. Almost 90 minutes from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Eichen had 67 heavy minutes from 390 into the old post office. The Stevenson inbound, they're reopening lanes from an earlier police investigation between Central and Damon. It is really heavy on the inbound Stevenson now, 65 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. They were investigating earlier police activity in a shooting in that area. Dan Ryan inbound, 28 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive is all messed up. Southbound lanes are blocked off between Randolph and McFetridge for the stock car race. That will be in place until the end of the day, July 4th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun mixed in with strong thunderstorms that are tracking across the state today. A high of 87. 73 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter, as you know.
And good morning.
So, Charles, you much of a beer drinker?
I like one every now and then.
Bud Light, perhaps?
No, I don't do Bud Light. I don't think I probably maybe picked one up at a picnic sometime in the distant past.
Yeah.
No, I'm
not itching to get back to Bud Light.
I'm not a big Bud Light guy.
Yeah.
I like a nice red wine in my, later years.
Well, sure, you're a refined gentleman.
Well, but it doesn't have to cost a lot. I mean, I won't spend any more than $15, $20 on a good bottle.
Okay.
I'm not a.
You're not a Screaming Eagle guy.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's a higher end.
Well, no, I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, okay.
No, Chateau whatever.
Chateau whatever. What year?
What year? Last week.
Well, Bud Light, we've now heard from Brendan Whitworth. For those of you who don't know, why would you? He's the CEO of Bud Light, and he crawled out of his C-suite to make it onto the set of the CBS morning show with Oprah Winfrey's friends. I can never tell them apart. All of Oprah Winfrey's sons look alike to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was explaining what Bud Light is doing and how they're trying to get past this uncomfortable period where they have taken a multi-billion-dollar hit to their sales and lost their standing as America's favorite light beer. See if this corporate speak from Brendan Whitworth allays your discomfort with Bud Light and brings you back into the fold.
How and why did it go so off the rails? Because that certainly wasn't your intention when you did one can to one person.
It's been a challenging few weeks, and I think the conversation surrounding Bud Light has moved away from beer, and the conversation has become divisive. And Bud Light really doesn't belong there. Bud Light should be all about bringing people together. And there's been impact on the business, and I think that's publicly covered on Bud Light specifically.
Yeah, so what was your intention? Take us to the beginning. What was your intention? What were you all trying to do here? And you've done this before, these promotional campaigns.
Yeah, it was, just to be clear, it was a gift, and it was one can. But for us, as we look to kind of the future and we look to moving forward, we have to understand the impact that it's had. And like I said, that impact has taken place. But it's the impact on our employees, the impact on our consumers, and as well, the impact on our partners. And I think one thing that I'd love to make extremely clear is that impact is my responsibility. And as the CEO, everything we do here,
he's responsible for. I'm real impressed. Brendan, we know it was just one can. But that's not the issue, Brendan. Come now. We're not being forthright. Now, none of Oprah's friends that co-host that terrible show, of course, could bring themselves to address this, but it wasn't the one can. It wasn't even that you brought on that man pretending to be a girl, gross, to be a spokeshuman. Not even that. It's this. Alyssa Heinerscheid, your director of marketing, since the buck stops with you, Brendan. This is what she said about Bud Light's attitude towards its customer base. Brendan, respond to this. Harvard grad, Alyssa Heinerscheid.
I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time.
In decline now.
And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like, we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
Well, you had another approach. So Brendan, that's your director of marketing for Bud Light. So is that your deal? Evolve and include and get rid of the frat boys and the tone deaf attraction to women in bathing suits and so forth. Is that your play, Brendan? Since the buck stops with you, do you understand? It's not about the can. It's about vilifying your customers and also caricaturing them. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. The next utterance from Brendan here, as he's fielding mainly pawing questions about, do you still like the LGBTQ2S plus community? Not so much. Will you stick by Dylan Mulvaney and the radical left, the identitarians? So would you do it again is the question. Because you need to pledge allegiance, buddy. We're talking about people's religion. I'm talking about LGBTQ. I'm talking about the identitarian faithful. What are you going to do, Brendan? People want to know.
Given the moment we're in, this moment in America with trans issues at the top of a Republican social or conservative political agenda, knowing what you know now, right. If you could go back, would you send this can to this one person again?
There's a big social conversation taking place right now, and big brands are right in the middle of it. And it's not just our industry or Bud Light. It's happening in retail. It's happening in fast food. And so for us, what we need to understand is, deeply understand and appreciate, is the consumer and what they want, what they care about, and what they expect from big brands.
So this is part of why you're getting it from all sides, because I asked you, would you do it again? And people on the trans rights side of things, supporting that community, want you to say, yes, of course, we want that fortitude. And people on the right would criticize you for saying yes. So where are you on the issue? I mean, was this a mistake?
Bud Light has supported LGBTQ since 1998, so that's 25 years. And as we've said from the beginning, we'll continue to support the communities and organizations that we've supported for decades. But as we move forward, we want to focus on what we do best, which is brewing great beer for everyone, listening to our consumers, being humble and listening to them, making sure that we do right by our employees, take care and support our partners, and ultimately make an impact in the communities that we serve.
He does a great Gavin Newsom impersonation, does Brendan Whitworth. Who do you find more offensive as a group, Fortune 500 CEOs or politicians? Because they talk the same, don't they?
I don't know. I got to go with the politicians.
Yeah, well, right, because we have to pay them, forcibly pay them. So I guess that's. But I mean, honestly, what is he? Look, I'm with you, but don't make me ridicule the people I need to drink Bud Light again so I can keep my job.
Part of this the whole thing is, You got your LGBTQIA plus. I mean, do you get to pick your letters? Did I say this earlier this week? I mean,
yeah.
Yes. I don't think you can pick your letters.
Yes.
But you're going to be a phobe if in the letters you don't pick. You're going to be a bigot.
As long as you celebrate every letter that every person
celebrate
picks.
every letter.
You have to celebrate
Maybe
every letter.
Everybody can't celebrate.
You have
every
to
letter.
celebrate every letter.
See, that's the problem.
And you have to celebrate every letter equally.
Yeah. Maybe there's letters that people don't want to deal with.
All right.
They just don't want to deal with.
Look,
it
doesn't sound like you're being much of an ally. So, along with Brendan Whitworth, this is what I would ask him to do. You have to recite the creed. You have to recite the creed. So, come on, everyone.
I invite you to rise in body or
Please
spirit.
Rise.
And let us confess our faith today in the words of the Sparkle Creed.
I believe in the non-binary God whose pronouns are plural. I believe in Jesus Christ, their child who wore a fabulous tunic and had two dads, and who saw everyone as a sibling of God. I believe in the rainbow spirit who shatters our image of one light and refracts it into a rainbow of gorgeous diversity. Charles, you're not reciting. I believe in the Church of Everyday Saints as numerous, creative, and resilient as patches on the AIDS quilt, whose feet are grounded in mud, and whose eyes gaze at the stars in wonder. I believe in the calling to each of us that love is love is love, so beloved, let us love. I believe, glorious God, help my unbelief. Amen. All right.
The usher did not give me a program, so I couldn't follow along.
Well, you were there in spirit. That's the important thing.
I was there, and
I don't know if you were there in spirit. Yeah. Well, that's the Sparkle Creed, and all we ask is that, in order to be not viewed as an apostate, as a heretic, you recite the Sparkle Creed, and I think that should obviously start with Brendan Whitworth. I'd be sure he'd be happy to do it. And also, and by the way, that's the, you may have heard earlier in the program, that's the Community Lutheran Church in Edina, Minnesota, the church of Senator Amy Klobuchar, as I understand it. Of course it is. But it's not just there. You can also live the Sparkle Creed at, for example, the Calvary Presbyterian Church in San Francisco, which features drag Bible story hour with the likes of Flamey Grant. Not kidding.
We're holding a drag queen Bible story hour.
Reverend Victor Floyd says it's a first for Calvary Presbyterian Church. They've held a pre-Pride prayer service before, but this is something new.
We're hoping to offer a little balance to all of the hateful rhetoric that's out in the country, and especially coming from churches and from politicians who are using churches and using trans people and drag queens as their props.
Supporters came early and sat.
My name is Joanne Fabrics. Also, I'm Pastor Sam Lundquist at St. John's Presbyterian Church.
And they listened to the message.
And he led his flock into the wilderness.
And there was song.
I think that Pride Month especially is extremely important these days because so many of us come up in shame, and that's why we need pride.
Reverend Floyd says not everyone supported the church hosting the event.
Imagine that. In San Francisco, no less. So the Reverend is opposed to people using trans people as mascots while he has trans people on the altar as a mascot for Pride Week. Okay. I just want to get that straight.
Well, Matthew 24 warns about the false prophets.
It does. Maybe it should have been more explicit about corporate CEOs and elected officials. Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, good morning. And Charles, good to hear your voice all week.
Thank you.
Dan, thank you actually for bringing it around to the point I was going to make in my comment, which is when I think, number one, when people are looking at dwindling participation in any group now, the first question that should be asked is, how can we attract more transvestites? Because I think clearly that should be the call to everybody for inclusivity. You know, if elevate and evolve means more transvestitism, I guess we missed that. But the spirituality aspect of it, you brought that in. I was going to bring that up. This is really the result of the rejection of truth and God overall by people in America and around the world especially. You know, we like worrying about what Europe is doing. We should worry less about that because they lost their way even before the U.S. was fully on the way of losing its way. And one last dig. My dig is on psychology in the medical profession, because when they declassified homosexuality as an abnormal psychology, that opened the door for all of this, hey, it's all good, you know, love, love, love. It's not. It's a perversion. It's a lie. And now we are seeing the fruits of that lie seed being sown in so many different soils by so many different people a long time ago. It's recoverable, but it's going to be tough.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Well, yeah, the whole idea that the priest said in San Francisco, this is at the, or no, not the priest in San Francisco, the one of Oprah's friends on the panel at CBS, this is at the top of the Republicans' agenda. No, it's not. Never was. You launch this cultural broadside and you get pushback, and now we're to blame for pushing back. Of course, I mean, I get the strategy, but let's call it for what it is. Interestingly, a new study published in the Journal of General Psychiatry looked at data from 2017 to 2021 for gender dysphoria, looking through the health records of 42 million people. I'm sure without their names attached, but regardless. 42 million health records, 4 years, 2017 to 2021. Patients between the ages of 4 to 65, a total of 66,000 had received a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Okay. 42 million people globally. 80% of those who received a diagnosis of gender dysphoria in the United States. We're 6% of the global population, but we represent 80% of those who've received a gender dysphoria diagnosis.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
Gosh, I wonder if that has something to do with culture. I wonder if there's a social contagion piece of this, which other studies have essentially now confirmed. So tell me again, this is literally a religion, as you're hearing the Sparkle Creed and drag Bible hour on the altar at Presbyterian Church in San Francisco. And if you think it would be any different at Fourth Press downtown, you're wrong. Oh, so tell me again. Frank in Arlington Heights.
Good morning. Back in the day, 2002, I got my MBA, a Master's Business Administration. We didn't have this ESG, DEI stuff in there. We didn't have a lot of group work. We just used to, when it came to marketing, focused on the 4 Ps: product, place, price, promotion. That's what these guys should get back to. Ridiculous. Also wanted to say this. I'm not drinking Bud Light or any Budweiser product ever again. Stella, Bud Light, Busch, any of it. When I went to Busch Stadium back a couple months ago, I walked around the entire stadium and actually found a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer in the right field, under the right field bleachers. So I was determined. It took me 20 minutes, but I found a beer. I'm not drinking that garbage if there's ever, or Miller for that matter, or Coors. I'm a lifelong detester of those brands. So that's what they've accomplished.
Thanks for the call, Frank. Coming up at 8:08, Connor Boyack joins us. He's the author of the Tuttle Twins book series, talking about the fundamental principles in a free society and how to communicate them to kids. That's at 8:08. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Thunderstorms have crossed the area, dropping large hail on some areas in the state. Canadian wildfire smoke causing more unhealthy air for us. Connor Bedard goes first overall to the Blackhawks in the NHL draft. White Sox hammer the Halos. Cubs fall to the Phillies. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
Hunter Biden under oath. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The president's son just showed up at a court in Wilmington, Delaware, and will be deposed there. Asked about his infamous laptop in a civil lawsuit.
Computer repair shop owner John Paul McIsaac is seeking $1.5 million, claiming Hunter Biden damaged his reputation by lying about whether that laptop actually belonged to him.
Fox's Brooke Singman. The House Republicans have been investigating the laptop's contents and Hunter Biden's business dealings. Oversight Committee Chair James Comer believes Hunter's father was involved, which President Biden denies. Comer tells Fox.
We have a situation here where our federal government has been involved in a cover-up. It's generated by the Department of Justice, and it continues.
A new Fox News poll gives President Biden 64% support among Democrats. His two challengers combined for 27. Now, former President Trump also has a big lead in the Republican race, despite his recent classified documents indictment. He gets 56% in the Fox poll. Ron DeSantis, 34 points back. Everyone else is in single digits. Chris Christie's not worried. He's at just 1%, but tells Fox it's early.
8 years ago right now, Donald Trump was at 4%. Back in 2007, Barack Obama was losing to Hillary Clinton by 38 points.
A state trooper is being mourned in Indiana. Aaron Smith was killed when a stolen car being chased hit him on a highway.
He's got a young wife that is just absolutely adorable, and I would trade places if I could take away her pain.
State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, the driver of that car, crashed and was taken to a hospital. It's a hazy morning from Milwaukee to Pittsburgh to Indianapolis and even farther south as Canadian wildfire smoke drifts down again.
Unhealthy for sensitive groups, of course. Take a care of your kids and the elderly and your pets as well.
That's Fox meteorologist Janice Dean. America's listening to Fox News.
Hazy skies, 73 degrees, and we've had some powerful thunderstorms across the Chicago area this morning and many parts of the state. Man stabbed to death in the Irving Park neighborhood late Wednesday night. Police responded to the 3700 block of North Kedzie. A victim was found with multiple stab wounds, later transported to Illinois Masonic in critical condition and later pronounced dead. The Blackhawks take a major step forward in their rebuilding effort during the first round of the NHL draft last night in Nashville, taking Connor Bedard.
An unbelievable feeling to be here with my family and friends and get to hear my name be called and experience that, especially with such a storied organization and everything I've heard about the city, the people there is nothing but positive.
Chicago Board of Education President Miguel de Valle is stepping down. He announced yesterday at the school board meeting that it would be his last. His departure comes as the board is shifting from an appointed to an elected body next year. A Grays Lake man is charged after a gun went off in a Vernon Hills residence, wounding a 2-year-old girl. Joseph Hackett, 19, has been indicted on charges of felony gun possession, felony reckless conduct, and misdemeanor child endangerment. Hatchett unlawfully possessed, according to prosecutors, a weapon, and his 17-year-old girlfriend was allegedly caring for her juvenile family members at the time of that shooting. White Sox 11-5 rout of the Angels in Anaheim, while the Cubs surrender to the Phillies, giving up 5 in the top of the second in an 8-5 loss. The news, a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Rite Aid shares are rallying. Its loss in the recent quarter was smaller than expected. The company still expects to lose money this year, but not as much as Wall Street was anticipating. McCormick, the spice company, also reported a better than expected quarter. Micron Technology shares are higher. Its loss was narrower than predicted. The memory chip maker is seeing improvement in its business. Eli Lilly is buying Sigilon Therapeutics, a company developing immunotherapy treatments for chronic diseases. The deal's worth more than $309 million. The two companies have been working together since 2018. Luxury sports car maker Ferrari has launched 2 plug-in hybrid models. The price starts at more than $840,000. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager says it's time to get informed.
Ignorance is a sin. When bad things are happening, ignorance is willful. If you don't know what Disney is doing to everything associated with children, you have decided to tune out and let others fight.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Sean Thompson here. You know I like to speak the truth about the Democrat mafia. And boy, does it make my blood boil. Well, if you have high blood pressure or know someone who does, I have the answer for you. 120 Life. They're a Chicago company that developed a juice drink that helps lower blood pressure naturally. 120 Life is a natural juice drink made of pomegranates, tart cherries, cranberries, hibiscus, beetroot, and magnesium. It helps lower blood pressure without the side effects of pills. I'm drinking it, and I love it. You will too. It keeps me energized and keeps my blood pressure in check. The truth is, there are easy, natural ways to keep your blood pressure in check, and one of them is 120 Life. Check it out and tell them Sean Thompson sent you. Visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. You can order a 2-week trial pack of their juice drink. There's a money-back guarantee, and you can use the coupon code LIBERTY to save 15%. The natural answer to high blood pressure. Visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. And start lowering your blood pressure in just 2 weeks.
When a service member or first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty, who's there for them or the families left behind? Who's helping our homeless veterans and our nation to never forget 9/11? The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. More than 95 cents of every dollar donated to Tunnel to Towers goes to its programs. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. There aren't many people who would knowingly leave their job to start another job for a 30% cut in pay. And yet, people do it every day when they enter retirement. Why enter the exciting new chapter of your life with less money? Why trade the stress of work for more stress in retirement? Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help. Just call Tom at 630-934-1855 for your complimentary, customized retirement. It addresses many of the big questions you may have, like what to do about Social Security, managing your investments, and how to create income you can never outlive. You can downsize your house, but don't downsize your lifestyle. Get a complimentary, customized retirement plan at 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. That's alphawealthgroup.com.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, RWA, an SEC registered investment advisor. RWA and Alpha Wealth Group are independent of each other. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
It is 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time, a service of Bank of America. Bank of America with powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business. Eden's at 18 Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy right now at about 90 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Stevenson has an accident inbound between the Veterans I-355 and Lamont Road. Right now, it's 41 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 41 heavy minutes between 95th and the Burns Circle interchange. You are jammed solid between Garfield and Roosevelt. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and sun, a strong thunderstorm. That could bring us some damaging wind, flash flooding, and hail today, high 87. Shower and thunderstorm around this evening, otherwise cloudy and humid. Air quality unhealthy for some, low 72. Thunderstorm tomorrow, high 89. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
76 at O'Hare, 77 at Midway, 74 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
Still here?
Still here, still swinging.
Yep.
And we got a number of targets this morning we're swinging at, including, well, this being Pride Month, all of the religious expressions in support of LGBTQ plus orthodoxy, emphasis orthodoxy, the religious nature of it, as we were so demonstrating with the expression of the Sparkle Creed that is being recited from the pulpit, places like the Edina Lutheran Community Church in Minnesota. Well, and on the issue of libraries and books in school, all this business, like you've heard from Governor Jelly Belly here about book banning and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. As we've said before, let's test that a little bit. Who wants to ban books? Who wants to exercise their gatekeeping role? And with respect to what books? Here's a way to test it. Genderqueer and all of these other soft and not so soft core porn in libraries and in classrooms at primary grades. Go to your local library and say, do you have the Tuttle Twins? How about the Tuttle Twins book series? I'm not asking to remove genderqueer, but you're going to include the Tuttle Twins, wouldn't you? Won't you? See what your school board has to say about that. Does the Tuttle Twins in the library? Does anybody know? And other such titles, there are many, but this is a good example, a concrete example, a specific example. The Tuttle Twins is the work of Connor Boyack, who's the president at the Libertas Institute. And it is instruction on the fundamental principles of a free society for children of all ages. They're now at 5 million copies of the books distributed, and they have an animated cartoon series as well. Right? That certainly would be welcomed by the government schools and their duly installed librarians, wouldn't you think? Well, let's hear about that experience. Connor Boyack joins us now. Connor, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
So, the Tuttle Twins, how are you doing with distribution in libraries, municipal libraries, and K-12 school systems?
Oh, it's pretty much how you characterized it. Lots of bureaucracy, lots of, that's not a good fit for our community.
Oh.
That's not a good fit for our audience. It reminds me a lot of what Vadi Bakum once said, the preacher who has this great quote. He says, can we as parents really send our children to Caesar's schools and be surprised when they return home as Romans? Right? Like we're sending our kids to these institutions during their most intellectually formative years. And what's crazy, think of conservatives. They're, for generations, they've just assumed the best of the system. We all went to public school. We'll send our kids there. And yet 87% of high school teachers support Democrats. 85% of elementary school teachers support Democrats. So this is basically a breeding ground for the left where they're not having children of their own. They're just, capturing our own children and turning them to their own army. So for me, it's a wake-up call to freedom-minded parents to say, I'm not, anti-government school necessarily, but if your kids are going to go there, you need to have eyes wide open about the threats they're going to face, some of which you've mentioned, and you need to counteract that. You can't just be asleep at the wheel and assume your kids will turn out fine.
Yeah, the great. It's sort of like the same thing with the D.C. press corps. If you look at exit polling data between like 86 and 93% of members of the Gang of 500 over the last 50 years have voted for the Democrat nominee for president. And so the question that it prompts is, gee, if you think it was 86 to 93% voting for the Republican, do you think the press coverage would be any different? So the same thing here. If it was 80 and 90% of high school and elementary school teachers that were supporting Republicans, do you think the schools and the instruction would be any different? Of course it would. So be honest about the impact that that leftist dominance has on our media as well as K through 12.
Well, I would say it goes even a step beyond that. I agree with you. One other challenge, sometimes I'll talk to, radio hosts in deep red conservative communities, and sometimes they'll say, oh, hey, we have a conservative school board and our teachers are more conservative, parents are active. We think we're immune from that, or maybe we stand apart from that trend. And I say, look, that may be true, but all the textbooks and the curriculum and the pedagogy that those teachers are using in the class are mass-produced by leftist-controlled companies produced for markets like California, and then you're buying the same textbooks and using the same curriculum material in your conservative classroom. It's much bigger than just thinking, oh, our school board's conservative, therefore we're fine. These are the fallacies that have led freedom-minded parents to surrender their children to their ideological adversaries for generations, and we're seeing the result.
Yeah.
This is why so many kids support socialism. This is why people do not understand the ideas of a free society. So Tuttle Twins really, for us, it's a solution to say we need to get into the home. The crazy thing, when we started doing these books, we thought, hey, children's books, whatever. They're not, as it turns out, children's books. They're more like family educational resources, because over half of the parents who get these books for their kids tell us that they are learning new things for the first time themselves, because these adults didn't learn it as kids. So we're trying to educate whole families, get them talking about ideas that matter, get them learning together across the dinner table, because it's just not happening in the school system anymore.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you have school systems like CPS where there's a predicate problem. Mom and dad can't read. I mean, literally,
Right.
We just had this report done, all the Chicago Public Schools, by wirepoints.org. They just published this report. Just to give you one example of what we're talking about, we've documented this many times in great detail, but just one example. Clark Academy Prep, Magnet High School, which is in the Austin neighborhood, which is where our current mayor, BLM Brandon Johnson, lives. 0% of the students are proficient in reading.
Wow.
1% of the students are proficient in math. 0% of black students at Austin, which is a majority black neighborhood, are reading at grade level. And 94% graduate. And 84% of the teachers are rated excellent or proficient. So this is what you're dealing with. And so how do you reach whole communities, whole neighborhoods? They're not getting exposure to anything. They're getting babysitting services, perhaps, but they're not coming out of high school with the ability to think critically or comprehend material that's put in front of them.
We can't say we weren't warned. Just a few weeks ago, we celebrated, or perhaps mourned, the 40th anniversary of the National Commission on Excellence in Education. This is 1983. Reagan's administration put out this report titled A Nation at Risk. They called it an open letter to the American people. And after 18 months of going across the country, talking to teachers, looking at curriculum, talking to students, and trying to assess how are our schools doing, how are we educating the rising generation, in this report they said that America's foundations were being threatened by a rising tide of mediocrity that threatened to overwhelm those foundations. And more to the point, they said that if a foreign government had attempted to impose upon America the very mediocre educational performance we now have today, again back in 1983, we might have viewed it as an act of war. As it stands, they said, we've allowed this to happen to ourselves. So that's 40 years ago. And when I share this with audiences, I say, raise your hand if you think that things have substantially improved in the last 40 years in the schools. No one, of course, raises their hand. We all know that we've been in this decline. If it was mediocrity 40 years ago, what is it today? Ultimately, it's a question for parents. How long are we going to tolerate this mediocrity? Maybe it means homeschooling, maybe it means private schooling, maybe it means micro schools, maybe it means moving to a better, public school. But ultimately, this is a question for parents to say, like, what are you willing to tolerate? And are you okay with mediocrity? But sadly, I think a lot of parents are. Again, they're asleep at the wheel. They just assume the best and think that, it'll turn out fine. They're seduced by the free babysitting you point out and the luxuries that affords them. Ultimately, parents have to wake up. They have to take action. We need to stop sending our children to Caesar if we don't want them to turn into Romans.
What about the Tuttle Twins franchise itself? How's it doing? I mean, do you see any movement up or down in terms of the public's reception of it?
Yeah, we're not very successful getting into schools and libraries, though we try. But that's a very kind of minor portion of our outreach. All of our marketing efforts are direct to the family. So we're trying to find the families who, number one, I guess the parents can read. But number two, the parents want their kids to learn these things. And initially we were accused of like, oh, you're preaching to the choir, right? Families that already believe these ideas. And yet what we found early on, and we've validated for the past decade that we've been doing this, is that though we're quote-unquote preaching to the choir was not talking to their kids about the doctrine, right? They weren't teaching their kids these ideas. Parents will take their kids to, say, Bible study or Sunday school. They'll transmit their religious ideas to their kids. But conservatives for generations have been ill-equipped to teach their kids their political, civic, and economic values. They don't talk to them about it. There's this massive disconnect where freedom-minded parents just were not talking to their kids about these things. And so their kids are all turning out to be social justice warriors, and they're, what happened to my kids? It's because you never talk to them. So we've seen a huge uptick in demand. We sell, like 1 million plus books a year. It's just continually growing. As Dan said at the beginning, we have a cartoon now. And a lot of parents, I think, are increasingly recognizing that if they don't do it, then no one else will. And if they don't do it, someone else is going to talk to their kids about quite opposing ideas. And if their kids don't have that foundation of knowledge, and if they don't understand these core truths, their children might be, seduced off in a different direction. Half of our community are homeschoolers, half are, public, private, charter schoolers. And so there's this broad recognition that we're not teaching kids this stuff, how money works, why entrepreneurship is important, the golden rule, personal development, the dangers of socialism, property rights, all of these essential foundational ideas that make a healthy and free society. The school systems aren't really talking about it at all, and many parents who believe these things are still not talking to them about their children. They lack the vocabulary. They don't really understand how. So Tuttle Twins really is just a vehicle to say, here's some fun stories, read them with your kids. You guys will have some fun conversations. We have little discussion questions at the end of the books, and we'll plant some seeds in your child's mind. I'll give you a very brief example. I got an email the other day from a dad who read with his son our book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, all about the Federal Reserve and money, why inflation's happening. And they read it, and it was a fun story. And it was like 2 weeks later, they were listening to the radio in the car. And they were talking about Joe Biden and inflation and all of this. And I think he was 9 years old. He piped up from the back. He said, "Oh, that's because of the creature from Jekyll Island." And so it's these associations that stick, and the kids will, learn from and apply later in life. But we have to plant these seeds. We have to be working with the rising generation. Too few of our organizations and think tanks and civic groups have recognized that we have to start earlier. We can't wait to reach adults. By then, they're often brainwashed by our ideological adversaries. So Tuttle Twins, for us, fundamentally is a project to spread these ideas to the rising generation, to get into the home, to support parents and kids together and having these discussions. And I couldn't be more excited how well it's being received and how much the momentum has been picking up over the years.
That's a good deal. Connor Boyack is the president of the Libertas Institute, that is, the author of the Tuttle Twins book series. TuttleTwins.com is where people can get information, order the books. Is that right, Connor?
That's it.
TuttleTwins.com. And I know Connor is marketing towards families, but that doesn't mean you can't bring those books to the school board, to the library, and say, okay, let's expand the offerings. Let's incorporate the Tuttle Twins. What do you think? Show of hands. It could be an illustrative moment for the community if you attempt to do that at the library or at your local government school. Connor Boyack, thanks so much for joining us. Again, TuttleTwins.com is the book series. Appreciate it.
Thanks, gentlemen.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you have a pension, you might not realize your lump sum payment changes every year when the plan is recalculated. Rising interest rates can actually cause your lump sum amount to drop in value. It might make sense to retire earlier than you planned, or you may end up with less money than you were expecting. Call the team at Scott Tucker Solutions to get a free pension analysis for your retirement. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. You only have one chance to get this right. Mistakes could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Make sure you understand all your options before you make a decision with your pension. Call Scott Tucker Solutions and get your free, no-obligation pension analysis now. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. That's 560retirement.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
When this is the sound of a crackling campfire on a cool evening, you can sit back and relax. But when it's the sound of your counters and cabinets smoking and smoldering following a house fire that's affected your entire kitchen, you need to pick up the phone and call 1-800-SERVPRO. Only the cleanup and restoration specialists at ServPro can help make fire and water damage like it never even happened. So make the call to 1-800-ServPro when fire damage strikes. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Test Director Rick from ServPro, the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. It's my job to make sure our pros are prepared for anything. Storm damage? Fixed. Flood damage? We're on it. Fire damage? Not anymore. Aliens? What aliens? We cleaned those sites a while ago. No matter the disaster, our pros will make it like it never even happened. Find out why ServPro is the #1 choice for residential and commercial restoration projects large and small. Visit servpro.com today.
Envoy Global Incorporated seeks Associate Manager Engineering in Chicago, Illinois, to lead a team of dynamic software developers to build and maintain the application. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 76978. Again, Envoy Global Incorporated seeks Associate Manager Engineering in Chicago, Illinois, to lead a team of dynamic software developers to build and maintain the application. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 76978. Again, apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 76978.
Want some wins? Wintrust Community Banks is proud to be ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with personal banking in Illinois by J.D. Power. That's one win. And we did it for the second year in a row. That's a win-win. And you can now earn even more interest with our new savings rates. That's a win-win-win. To get your savings some wins, visit wintrust.com/locknewrates today. That's wintrust.com/locknewrates. Members FDIC. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
It's time for Ask Dr. Marty. Brought to you by Dr. Marty's Pets, Nature's Blend. Called a miracle worker by Forbes magazine, veterinarian Dr. Marty has been helping dogs thrive for nearly 50 years. Celebrities and dog parents fly in from all over the world to see him. And now he's assisting dog parents everywhere by answering your questions. Here he is, Dr. Marty.
Hi, everyone. This week's question comes from Matt T. from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hello, Dr. Marty. Can I feed my dog pumpkin? Yes. A small amount of pumpkin is safe for your dog. In fact, here's a dog parent hack. Try canned pumpkin. It's quick, easy, and naturally full of fiber, which can help soothe your dog's tummy, and it's great for those fillable dog toys to help keep your dog entertained.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire Infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
Cracked brickwork or caulking? Doors or windows that no longer open or shut properly? Permaseal can help with that. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. When you look around your house, do you see uneven floors, gaps under baseboards, basement walls leaning or bowing, new cracks in your drywall or ceiling, or sunken concrete next to your foundation? These can be signs of structural foundation issues that won't get better with time. Call Permaseal today at 800-421-SEAL. Too often we hear of homeowners paying for an expensive consultation just to determine the problem. Don't be one of them. We can evaluate your foundation and offer you a permanent solution at absolutely no charge. Since 1979, Permaseal has been committed to providing quality proven products and superior customer service. When the work is done, you'll have a transferable warranty along with priceless peace of mind. And now, through June, you'll save $300 off any structural repair. Call Permaseal 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:38, we'll talk to Arthur Millick from the Claremont Institute. We talked about educating the young ones with Connor Boyack, now revitalizing the right-thinking adults after a decade of decay. Otherwise right-thinking adults, that is. That's at 8:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
8:31, 76 and haze, and strong thunderstorms have been impacting the state, south to north. Since about early this morning, 3 a.m., some areas have seen golf ball-size hail. A man stabbed to death in the Irving Park neighborhood late last night. Police responded to the 3700 block of North Kedzie and found a person unresponsive lying on the ground, later pronounced dead. The Blackhawks take a major step forward in their rebuild effort during the first round of the NHL draft, taking Connor Bedard with the first selection overall and number 19 overall, one of the best skaters in the draft, maybe in the world, Oliver Moore. France's government vowing to restore order after the deadly police shooting of a 17-year-old driver, triggering 2 nights of urban violence. 40,000 police and security officers will take a zero-tolerance approach in neighborhoods where buildings were hit with arson. The U.S. Coast Guard says it has likely recovered human remains from the wreckage of the Titan submersible. Coast Guard said that after examining debris from the submersible that had arrived at a port in Canada. Another round of Supreme Court decisions due today. Those cases include those on federal student loans and race-based college admissions. Domingo Germán, remember that name? He has now thrown the 24th perfect game in Major League Baseball history.
Grounded to third. Donaldson has it. There it is. Perfection for Domingo Germán.
Yankees shut out the A's 11-0 in Oakland. Germán needed only 99 pitches to record the first perfect game since Felix Hernandez in 2012. It's a day of celebration in Oregon. Self-service gas prohibition has been repealed after 72 years. A House bill there requires gas stations to staff half of the pumps, but the other half, for the first time ever, will be self-service. Fuel companies have wanted this for many decades. The Northwest Grocery Association claims there will be 0 jobs lost because half the pumps are already closed at gas stations due to an epidemic of understaffing. 8:34. White Sox score 9 in the first 5 on their way to an 11-5 rout of the Angels in Anaheim. Cubs give up 5 in the top of the second in an 8-5 loss to Philadelphia. The news, a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher, The Mike Gallagher Show.
Have you heard about Hunter Biden's text message to a Chinese business associate?
I don't know if it's going to break through. The mainstream media has an excuse again not to cover it. They're covering everything about Russia and the Wagner Group.
That's how pitiful and corrupt and despicable they are.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
When it comes to remodeling your home, are you picky, fussy, persnickety, particular, demanding, and just downright hard to please? Do you value quality over speed? Getting it done right over just getting it done? Well then, Mr. and Mrs. Persnickety, do yourself a favor and check out Forever Remodeling. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. To call us perfectionists would be understating our attention to detail. If you said we were OCD when it comes to creating spectacular kitchens, bathrooms, basements, and additions, we'd be guilty as charged. Forever Remodeling takes the time to meticulously get the job done exactly right. So if you're a stickler for details, if your standards are ridiculously high, then check out Forever Remodeling. We can promise you a best of the best of the best experience. Our number is 847-809-3355 or go to foreverremodeling.com. Foreverremodeling.com.
Let's face it, talking about life insurance is never easy. But after we watched a close friend lose her husband with no insurance, we decided that wasn't going to happen to our family.
Yeah, but shopping for life insurance can be almost as difficult as talking about it.
But then we heard about Ethos Life Insurance. They're a new kind of life insurance, built for people on a busy schedule who don't have time for unnecessary doctor's visits, fine print, or hidden fees. You know, who want to keep it simple.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. We answered a few basic questions, and within minutes, we had an estimate of what it would cost and what sort of policy made sense for us.
I never imagined a life insurance could be so affordable.
And accessible.
The peace of mind knowing that our future is secure, it just removes a lot of the fear around getting older and...
Yeah, the unexpected.
I'm glad we talked about it.
I'm glad we went with ethoslife.com.
Go to ethoslife.com now for your free estimate. That's ETHOSlife.com. EthosLife.com.
8:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It is a service of Bank of America, powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses so you can make every move matter. bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America NA, copyright 2023. Edens inbound, a heavy 37 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. It is right now about an hour and 40 minutes on the inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The outbound Kennedy right now solid as you travel to the big airport in about 35. The Ike extra heavy, 74 minutes, 390 into the old post office. The Stevenson beginning to thin out now, 46 minutes from the Tri-State into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan inbound, accident reported with bad injuries westbound before 71st. Police and emergency services on the scene and building traffic there, 43 from 95th into the Burns Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Sun and clouds in your forecast. Strong thunderstorms are crossing the state and now moving into Indiana. Humid this afternoon, high 87. 76 right now. Next news at 9. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Yeah, this is the bell lap for the day.
It is. It is. We're coming in for a hard finish. Interesting exchange the other day on MSNBC. I watch it so you don't have to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Stuart Stevens, who touts himself as a Republican. He's worked on 5 presidential campaigns. He was the senior advisor to the Mitt Romney 2012 presidential campaign.
We know how that turned out.
Not well. And he now is a part of the Lincoln Project since they moved the child predator out, the Never Trump Lincoln Project. Never. It should be. I think it should be expanded. It's the Never GOP. Never Conservative is the misnamed Lincoln Project. But there's something important about Stuart Stevens here. One is very current, and the other is reflective on the last 20 years or so, maybe going back to, frankly, Reagan. The current is Stuart Stevens is not worried about Trump. He's worried about DeSantis. DeSantis is worse. For those who thought that get Trump out of the way, DeSantis is a safe bet because they can't come at him like they come at Trump. Really? This is somebody who identifies as a Republican political consultant.
What'll happen here?
And Stuart, I'm going to give you the last word on this because, Chris Christie got booed for telling the truth about Trump. And he's at 5%. He's somewhere. He's not nowhere. He's ahead of Nikki Haley and some of the others. But what does it say about the Republican Party that the next guy down is Ron DeSantis, who is running the most openly fascist campaign I think I've ever seen? And I'm saying that having covered Donald Trump running for president. That's the next guy down.
Yeah, I suppose if you're inside DeSantis' war room, you got to think of a way to get yourself indicted to get up ahead of Donald Trump. This just goes to my point that this is what the party wants to be. And it's a hard thing for a lot of us who worked in the party to accept that we helped create this model. But we did. And this is very purposeful by the party. It's not something they stumbled into. Their second choice is a guy who is worse than Trump. So it's a threat to what it means really to be an American. And I think we have to realize that and address it accordingly.
Guy yucking it up with Joy Reid saying DeSantis is worse than Trump. He's a threat to what it means to be an American. Fascism is thrown around liberally on that show, like mostly in most quarters within the D.C. press corps. And the guy they're calling a fascist, Ron DeSantis, while Stuart Stevens was kibitzing with Joy Reid, Ron DeSantis was over talking to Shannon Bream on Fox saying this about the swamp and what he aims to do.
But what's happened in Washington, this has been an accumulation of power over decades. These are people who issue edicts. None of us elect these people. What kind of car you can drive, what kind of energy you can use. We need to fundamentally reconstitutionalize the government. We talked about draining the swamp in 2016. That didn't happen. I think the better analogy is breaking the swamp, because you can drain it a little bit, and the next guy can fill it back in. So we're going to fundamentally reshape Washington. We're going to bring major accountability to the DOJ, to the FBI, IRS. That requires a president that's disciplined, that's determined, and that's not going to get distracted and take their eye off the ball.
The idea that Ron DeSantis, who then went on to talk about the agencies he would eliminate if he could get congressional support to do so, including the IRS, that has now a 5-year record as the governor of Florida in which the state is an economic dynamo and also has one of the lowest state employees per capita count in the country, while having no income tax, while having a property tax that is effectively capped, a fraction of what you pay in these sophisticated urban centers like Chicago and New York. And that's fascism to Stuart Stevens and Joy Reid. particularly Stuart Stevens, because the larger point I wanted to make about him is the enemies inside the perimeter in the Republican Party that do the bidding of the left, that do what the left can't do, which is destroy it from within. And in Illinois, we know that all too well. Those who are interested in the spoils of war politics, those that are interested in bipartisanship for the purpose of advancing big government so they get payouts, which is what we've seen in Illinois for the past 50 years, and which is why we have no opposition party. So if you think the Illinois Republican Party is a good model to scale nationally, then listen to Stuart Stevens. If you think what's going on in Florida is a good model to scale nationally, then listen to DeSantis and, to some extent, Trump and other Republicans as well.
America needs an off-ramp, Dan. They need an off-ramp, man. From the division of the last, really, 10, 12 years, man. I mean,
well, we'll get Arthur Millick to adjudicate this, because you can't get an off-ramp when the left is driving the car. They don't want to get off the ramp. You need to force them off. So what does that look like?
Well, if there's a ramp there, I think maybe independents can force them off.
Maybe. Arthur Millick is the executive director for the Claremont Institute Center for the American Way of Life, that is. Editor of the just-released book, Up From Conservatism, Revitalizing the Right After Generation of Decay. And this is very interesting because it's got, it's essentially a compendium of commentaries from a lot of really interesting thinkers you've heard on this show. You certainly heard me reference the Michael Antons and Richard Hananias and Aaron Renz and Eric Kaufman from Birkbeck College of London, Roger Kimball from New Criterion. So it's definitely worth a pickup. Arthur Millick, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What about, I know this is a philosophical treatise or treatises in part, but what about what Stuart Stevens said about Ron DeSantis and what that tells us about certain elements that consider themselves part of the center right or part of, as he said, preserving what it means to be an American?
Right. No, it's a very important dynamic that exists only on the right, if you notice, and not on the left. Namely, that on the right, we always have people that claim to be on the right whose sole job is to tap the brakes on what the right would like to do. And a very interesting part of this is that during that clip you played, he said, well, it's regrettable that the party has made this decision, the party. The problem is it's not the party, it's the voters. It's the voters who have growing contempt for their own party, which is what explains the Trump revolution, which is what explains DeSantis's rise. And it's growing contempt of the voter base for what is taking place in America, how America is becoming more and more lawless, how America is becoming lopsided rule, how America is starting more and more from Washington to look like Chicago, San Francisco, New York City. And the right has learned that you can vote your heart out year after year, election after election, generation after generation, and never get anything you want on the core issues that affect your life. And I don't mean just the economic issues. I mean also on immigration, for example. We vote all the time to end illegal immigration, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And the left's adopted rhetoric, which is not new, but it's bubbled up more and more lately, is that anything that you say to try and stop what we're doing is fascism. That is fascism. And the right is going to have to learn to walk through these kinds of accusations. And importantly, the only way to do that is to build up genuine power on your side so that you can walk through those accusations, institutional power and state power.
And so before we get to what that looks like in addition to winning elections and making appointments, you sort of reference in the preface to the commentaries contained in the book about the right's failure to understand the nature of the left. Describe that failure in your view, as well as the failure to describe, to understand some of the enemies inside the perimeter before they organize into the Lincoln Project, I would add.
Right. Well, I think that the fundamental errors that the right has made have been ideological, namely that we wanted to believe on the right for the last generation or two that politics is really about the economy. If you can grow the economy, and you should do anything necessary to grow the economy. On those grounds, you can have a normal, safe, and stable country. And that is just not true. You can actually combine growing tyranny with a free-ish market. So it was partly our ideology. It was also partly that the right underestimated how imperious and insidious the left is, how it's not a live and let live ideology, how it expands from institution to institution, from schools to schools. I mean, it's kind of amazing that you go to rural America and you see all of the textbooks there are more or less leftist, right underneath the noses of red people. And it's because of this morally imperious feature of the left that the right didn't want to accept was true. The right always wanted to compromise, thinking the left would tap the brakes after that compromise happened. But it was simply never the case. Look at what happened just a couple of years ago. Just the moment when they win a huge, generational victory on gay marriage in the Supreme Court, the next day they turned to transgenderism. This caught the right off guard, and it shouldn't have. And so a new right has to be aware that this will never end unless the right does something to put a stop to it.
And give us an example. I mean, Richard Hanania has an essay in there about some of the things the right should be doing to confront the left and the institutions that are foundational for a free and civil society. But some examples of what center-right folks, conservatives, should be thinking about when it comes to reclaiming institutions that have been lost.
Yeah. So, look, let me give you the example that is the lowest hanging fruit. It's one we've been talking about as conservatives for a very long time and have always failed to do it because we have never had the right spirit and the right attitude about it. So we've always been laughing about universities, how they're getting worse and worse. So first we laughed, and now we're scared. The question is, what do you do with those institutions? So our view is you break them. There are a handful of them that should be pushed into insolvency because we have way too many universities in this country, an absurd amount. And in other places, you take them over. And you take them over in a way that DeSantis has shown is possible in Florida, and you reform them and you turn them into your own, just like the left has done in the past with almost every other university and college. So it's not about, let's get one conservative on the faculty and that'll create a counterbalance. It's not about, let's ensure that there's free speech on campus. Those things don't matter if the institution itself is overwhelmingly on the left. And so the attitude has to be one of conquest, reform, recreation in the image of institutions that are actually useful to the country.
Professor, don't we have to stop the left before we can really move the country even back to the center? We have to stop them first. I'm speaking of presidential politics here.
Well, look, it's a fair point, but I would just ask, what would it mean to stop them without institutional power?
Well, but get them out of office, basically. Out of the executive branch.
Right. I understand. My view is a little more pessimistic than that statement. And the reason is we learned a great deal from 2016 to 2020. That, in fact, what we saw is that there isn't a presidency per se in a way that we wanted to believe there was. The right has liked to engage heavily on electoral politics and not heavily on institution building, on the belief that, once we get into office, we do what we can do and we do what our voters say to get our policies into place. And the truth is that does not work. And that does not work because the left more or less controls the federal government apparatus to the extent that, again, look at what they did to Trump. They can stymie, they can slow roll, they can leak, they can humiliate, they can outright refuse legal orders from a president, and nobody ever gets punished. So capturing the presidency is one essential part, but we cannot put all of our eggs into that basket. It will not work.
He is Arthur Millick, Executive Director of the Claremont Institute Center for the American Way of Life, editor of the just-released book Up From Conservatism, Revitalizing the Right After a Generation of Decay, which includes a lot of great commentaries from great thinkers like David Azerrod, our friend at Hillsdale, Joshua Mitchell, our friend from Georgetown, many others. So do pick that up. Up From Conservatism, edited by Arthur Millick from the Claremont Institute. Arthur Millick, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joins us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Amanda Zanger, owner of Black Industrial and Safety Supply in Hammond, Indiana, and a business customer of Signature Bank. Prior to owning my own business, I worked for a major financial institution. So when it came time to finance the acquisition of Black, I approached a big bank, only to receive a solid no. That's when Signature Bank stepped in. With Signature Bank, the process was different. Signature provided creative financing options that enabled me to purchase Black and continue to grow the business. Thanks to Signature Bank, Black Industrial is able to continue serving Fortune 500 industry fabricators and contractors with tools and safety supplies as we have since 1893.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
If your money is not earning at least 5.25% tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. They're offering a 5.25% APY on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA accounts. Rate subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred, no-fee annuity. Earn 5.25% APY on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA. Pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, I'm Raquel.
And I'm Babette.
Here to invite you to listen to our show, Belly of the Beast,
where we tackle all the hot topics and issues that you are talking about today.
So join us each week for our
hard-hitting,
fun,
informative,
topical,
out there
radio show where we leave nothing on the table.
Belly of the Beast, Heard every Saturday evening at 7. Right here on AM 560, The Answer. And follow us on Facebook at Belly of the Beast IL.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Charles, I'm going to test your Sox fandom. You know that Yankee pitcher threw a perfect game yesterday?
Yeah.
The last one was 11 years ago, King Felix. But that same year in 2012, a White Sox pitcher threw a perfect game. Who was that White Sox pitcher?
Mark Burley.
No.
Right?
No.
A White Sox pitcher 12 years ago?
Philip Humber.
Right!
Remember?
I remember it now.
And then he was out of the league the next year.
Absolutely.
From the heights to the lows, it goes fast.
Goodness.
Thanks for joining us. It is now 9 a.m. AM 560 WIND.
What will Hunter